Hey everybody, welcome to Squatch Talk. I'm Pat, and the panel will be here, should be here, in just a few minutes. I don't know, I just wanted to jump on here a couple of minutes early and just chat with chat, and see what's going on, talk about a couple of things that are coming up. So, hey chat, what's up? Welcome guys, glad everyone is here. So yeah, like I'm working on a video and hopefully it'll come out soon. Hopefully I'll be able to put it together this weekend. And it's a content video for the channel, which, man, I think I have two content videos on this channel, you know, and one of them's like 4 years old, and the other one is like the little intro video I made of Ernie's song "Beast in the Night." And that's it. So I want to put up some content, or start putting up content. So it's coming down the pipe. Hopefully by the end of the weekend, I'll be able to upload it. Or finish it and upload it, but basically it's going to be the criteria for evidence as far as photo and video goes. So I laid out 5 points of criteria that should be met to seriously up the game for video and photographic evidence, but mostly focused on video, I think. Because that's really like, that's sort of the holy grail, right? As a researcher, like people go out in the woods, like, you know, short of like stumbling across a dead body that they could, you know, quickly get out of there somehow. Pretty much the holy grail is to capture one on video for an extended period of time, you know, more than 5 seconds. And so I'm going to, right here, I've got these notes. You can't stop the stream and look at them. 5 points of criteria to seriously up that game. Hey, Chihuahua. Shush. Come here. So that, yeah, so that the same old crap, the same old BS that keeps getting done changes. All right, there you go. And we can seriously up the game as far as like any kind of visual observations captured on film. Something has to change, and I'm trying to bring that change to the table. And that's about it. I'll go ahead and I need to send the link out to the guys here. Hold on. We'll get them in. Sorry, I'm a little distracted. I've been like real kind of lost in my own head today. And come on, Sally. And other than that, I would like to say real quick to, just in case you're watching, to my farmer friend in California, who's an excellent outdoorsman, and I recently reconnected with. If you're watching this, you know who you are. I meant what I said in my last message. And so please feel free to reach out to me, bud, and we can talk more. You know, on air or off air, it doesn't matter. I have no agenda with that. And I think you know that, dude. So yeah, bud. Please reach out to me and connect, and we'll have a conversation. One way or the other, man. It'd be good to catch up. Anyway, Just waiting for the panel to show up. Let's see, you guys are following in. What's up, Bill? Bill has a question right off the bat. Right now, how large an area do you believe that North America? Belief, Bill. There's that word, man. We talked about this when you were on. I don't have a belief. I don't. It doesn't. It doesn't require faith. They are. They're definitely up and down the East Coast. They're in, southern U.S. Arkansas, Texas, Oklahoma. Southeast up to the Northeast, Pacific Northwest, all the way down to California, Northern California. It's all the habitat. Wet, very wet, lush, forested areas with terrain. They don't. I don't think they go wandering around through the deserts of New Mexico in the wide open. Seems like we would have probably would have got some pretty good evidence of that. But yeah, and then you get up into Canada and the extreme, from the Canadian border all the way up to the extreme parts of North America. It's just so vast and ridiculously unpopulated that they could literally be anywhere up there. How does critical thinking come into play of one knowing? It's a good question. It's a fair question. You weigh everything out. And as somebody that practices and is always learning better skills of critical thinking, I've come to the conclusion that there's something going on that has not been explained. It has not been well explained, that's for sure. People do these little knee-jerk explanations, like what happened in the debate on Tuesday. Try and get into the deep psychology of brains being primed from ancient stories, and they catch a shadow out of the corner of their eye, and that explains why you're standing in front of a 8-foot-tall monkey man at 20 feet. No, I don't think so. And if that were the case, it would be happening in cities as well, not just areas of habitat, right? So through critical thinking, I've come to determine 100% there's a legitimate phenomena to what we colloquially call Bigfoot. And I don't have a solid explanation for that, and I'm seeking one. All right. Well, hold on, Patrick. So I have a small research project going on right now, and this is one of the questions that I will be looking at. Yeah, Bill, I know, anecdotal is not scientific evidence, but whatever phenomena is going on in the Pacific Northwest, it's also going up and down the Appalachian chain. So that's not a coincidence. So if you get to the bottom of it, the same phenomenon that goes on there goes on here. And with that, I'll bring a panel member in. I think they're just going to trickle in tonight. And wait, what? Oh. Ooh, we might have a technical issue. Oh, there he is. Not sure for the lag.
Is there a lag?
Uh-oh. You guys hear me? Is the stream going okay?
Yeah. Can you
But
hear
I
me?
cannot hear you, Patrick.
That sucks.
Ooh, this is all screwed up. Oh boy. There we go. Man, there's some
Ta-da!
weird lag going on here.
Can you guys hear me okay and see me okay? Good. No mic breakup. I'm using my Bluetooth headphones today, so
It's a little broke up. It's a little broke up.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Hold on, guys. Hey, chat. Is my
So mine's broke up. Yeah, am I having any lag?
No lag that I can tell. It's just a little Bluetoothy ish.
Is it like annoying Bluetoothy?
okay? So you guys can hear Brent.
A little bit. No, it's not bad. It's not bad.
All right, let me try and turn this. Hold on.
Hello, check.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna have to leave the room.
All right, folks, it's my show. I hijacked it. I'm an internet pirate. How y'all doing tonight? Hope y'all are doing well. How's it going, Brent?
Hey, can you hear me better? Can you hear me a lot better?
You sound better. I mean,
Nice. I'll take that.
well, it's still a little broke up. I think your other one was better.
Oh, really?
I don't use Bluetooth because of the sound quality. Just I don't know. It's kind of like connection to connection to connection to connection, and there's something.
Yeah.
I try to use a hardwire where I can, but
Now I can hear you guys. Can you guys hear me?
yeah, he's back.
All right,
Nice.
let me switch to my headphones then. Damn
I
technology.
I was a pirate. I took over your channel.
Are you a hacker, Patrick?
Absolutely not.
You're a life hacker.
Yeah, I can hack some life.
You know how to take a deer femur and make a lean-to post out of it.
A wahinte. Make a wahinte out of it. You take a buckskin thong and you put it around here and you run it to your arm, and on the bone you actually make it serrated, like a serrated edge, and you could flesh a deer hide with it, and the thong gives you a leverage. So
how's it now?
Point proven.
Okay,
It's a little low. We can hear you. It was a little low. It's about 30% low.
How about now? Yeah.
Keep talking.
Keep talking. I can
There
sing
you
you guys
go.
a song if you want.
there you go. That's good.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not singing a song now.
Yeah, you're good.
Come on, sing. I'll be your backup. Go ahead, shoot.
You could be my hero.
So please tell me I didn't spend the first freaking 10 minutes, 15 minutes of the show with no audio, right?
I heard you when I was sitting backstage.
Okay. Cool.
So.
All right.
Hello. So what's up?
Not much. We're here.
Yeah.
Well, Brent's not anymore.
I've been delving into the subject of, I've been trying to figure out the psychology of, and the question I posed was, what part of our psychology keeps us from accepting rational, reality. Rational reality is how I labeled it. What is it about showing someone something, and it's so out of their norm that they say that it's not there. It's not there. I refuse to accept it. That's what I've been kind of researching and picking someone's brain about. And it's interesting, because it's this subject. It's not just about presenting evidence. It's also about perceiving the evidence.
Agree.
Okay, and we're not the ones that are perceiving the evidence. Someone else that doesn't know is going to have to perceive it. So understanding what causes someone going up, no, and puts a stop sign up, can't deal with that, doesn't exist. I think that's the other part of the equation. So
It is, and you know the interesting thing to me about that, Patrick, and I wish I would have. I wish I would have been able to like flip that around in my head quicker last Tuesday night. You know, is when people, it's like the opposite end of that. They don't understand. It's completely opposite from what they think when they try and say, like PhD Tony did to me the other night. Well, you know, it's just your brain's primed. There's all these stories. You catch a little shadow of something in the corner of your eye. Like, I'm paraphrasing, but that's literally what he freaking said.
I watched it. I was
and and it's just the opposite. The psychological effect is absolute disbelief. This is not real. The irony is, some people actually think I must be looking at a bear. That's the deep irony in the whole misidentification. Like, that's where their freaking brain wants to go.
Yeah.
You know, they refuse to believe that they're looking at this thing that they never was taught about when they were younger or in school, and this animal that exists on the planet that shouldn't freaking be there. So that's the supreme irony in all of the backwards thinking of knee-jerk skeptics.
Yeah. Well, and I was listening to that debate and watching all these snide remarks, and I'm like, you know, I completely understand where they're at. I've been there. Okay, if it wasn't for 2003, I would still be there. You know, it's just that I was in the wrong place at the wrong time and had an extremely disturbing encounter that I didn't believe for 8 more years. Okay, I considered it just a weird thing, a hallucination, anything other than what it was until,
wow.
You know.
I didn't know it took you that long.
Yeah, it took me 8 years to say, okay, this is real. And it took me even longer to accept that it was real, because even out in the field with the team, I'm getting yelled at, screamed at, and I'm asking everybody, "Are y'all seeing this too?" You know, because in the back of my mind, there's no way this should be happening. You know, it took me 8 years to know it was real, 14 years to talk about it, and probably a year and a half ago to accept it. You know, to accept that this is a real thing and it's really there, and there's not a damn thing I can do about it.
Right.
And you know, and so that's how hard of a skeptic I was. You know, with a capital S in quotations. You know. So,
Sure.
and it is kind of, you know, someone said something. Well, you know, you're sitting there with what you've seen, and people are saying, well, maybe this exists. I completely agree. I completely understand disbelief. I know where Pat is at with his phenomenon, because I was there right before my third encounter. This is just a phenomenon, and the knocking in the woods is just a known animal doing an unknown action in the dark.
Well, again, you know, I mean, they from physical appearance, they seem to meet our definition of a primate. So I'm extremely open-minded to go in that direction. You know,
Yeah.
I think that's the most comfortable direction to go in, to be honest with you. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to get too deep into the unknown. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, but there's something going on up there, and you know,
Well,
we need answers.
I'll lay out. You know, and it's tough because I use the control. I drive hypothesis. I drive theories, experiments to test theories, prove or disprove theories. Took them out in the field, used them, proved myself wrong or right. And I really had no bias to it, because, I mean, my only bias was I didn't want this to exist. The bias of what it did or what it didn't do into any to any experiment that I put out there was non-biased. It's just a question, and this is designed to get the answer. But with all the answers that I've gotten, I can say within 100%, and this is coming from taking a team out and having witnesses witness one in a field, and having a camera shining over our shoulder with the eye shine in the camera as it walked through the field, with witnesses watching it walk in the field and casting the tracks of what walked in the field.
Right.
Okay, that's the best I've been able to do. And it's a failure. It's a failure because it's inconclusive. It's nothing I can put out there and say, hey, this is real. But I know for myself, it's a 100% real being that is out there. And you have no idea how weird that is for me to say for myself, but yeah, I can say
even
that.
still, huh?
Yeah, even still, it's like, the 2002 part of me wants to kick me in the head because there's just no way. But you cannot deny reality, and reality is the situation that I support. I don't support anything. I don't support. You can take man and put him in any equation. He can screw it and louse it up in every way. Okay, you can take science and man can louse science up, even though he'll have brilliant deductions. He's still gonna be skewed somehow, and you could say the same biases in the Bigfoot community, And from someone that didn't want it to exist, I can tell you, I didn't have bias for it existing. So the reality of the situation is what I've always served, not science and not. The community, yes. Hey, I'm putting awareness out there. These things are, whether you believe in them or not, I don't have to prove to you they're real. But if you run into something in the woods and you could have a bad situation, you better pay attention and know and have a plan on how to get out without hurting yourself or someone else. That's my thing. So.
Fair enough. Brent?
Yeah. No, I've really looked into the investigation you've done in the whole Bigfoot phenomenon, Patrick. Listened to all the Bigfoot Explorer videos, and I was skeptical at first when I started to hear you, but like I told you before, but the more you talk about stuff, the more you start to realize that what you're kind of talking about in the perspective that you're coming from. And you mentioned in one of the last podcasts that you did that you look at it from a primitive survival skill set, which I think is a really great way to look at it, a really good perspective, because you're putting yourself in the mindset of what the target species is, what you go kind of live how they live. Because I always thought that if we're going to make progress in this subject, we're going to have to live on the land, live as they live. Because a lot of people do the weekend warrior stuff, which I'm guilty of. But that's what makes up a lot of Bigfoot evidence or a lot of Bigfoot investigation right now. It's the weekend warrior. We're not going deep. We're not doing what it takes. This primitive living situation like Patrick's talking about. I think that maybe if the Bigfoots see that, they might see respect in that and want to further engage and be interested. And I think they probably appreciate and respect somebody more that lives off the land versus somebody that goes in and destroys it. And and what you were saying, Patrick, about you not being able to properly document, it's not a failure. It's just you're just collecting evidence of collecting situations and evidence of what's going on in your area and what you're able to kind of find out. It's not going to prove what Bigfoot is to the rest of the world, but it's going to help your own personal investigation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on that point, many, many, many years ago, I realized that it came to me. I thought, I was like, man, who'd be perfect to go look for Bigfoot and could probably yield some good evidence and results. And Steve, I'll bring you in a second here, is Les Stroud. And this was before he did the Finding Bigfoot stuff. So I was just going off the Survivor Man thing, and I had knowledge of the time of his Alaska sort of encounter he had with the gorilla sounding whatever out in Alaska, monkey thing. I had knowledge of that, and I was like, man, dude, Les would be the perfect guy. And man, it turned out that that pipe dream was like he's not the perfect guy.
He's kind of part of the entertainment side of the Bigfoot phenomenon. You have the entertainment side, and then you have the people who are seriously investigate it. Like I consider some of us here. We're serious about it, but I think Les Stroud's more of the entertainment side, where he has to create entertainment and episodes for us to be entertained by, so he could, get his ad revenue and all that fun stuff. So it's harder to trust what's coming out of that type of format there.
Yeah.
Well, understanding how they move through the woods, their capabilities, and their intellect, and how they use topography, and all that. I'm trying to find out how to put this. Okay, having a point to start at. That was what I was struggling for a long time. I had a hypothesis I could do it this way, but then once you start understanding how, that they are using things the way they should be using, actually better than I would ever use them as a primitive survivalist. I mean, they're hands down 10 times better than me, because they do something, and I think, why would they do it this way and not that way? And then after analyze the situation, of what they, built there, this works for them better because of their capabilities. They're way faster. They have way better eyesight, better sense of smell. They can hear you come in a truck, which is one of our weaknesses. One of our greatest weaknesses is what we use to get around in, because they can hear that coming from miles away. They know you're coming. That's why you got to be boots on the ground, get out there for a couple miles to where, you're out of earshot of where you were, and then start your investigation.
Steve, what's up? Welcome to Squash Talk.
I was enjoying listening to Patrick talk about having people at his area with activity going on around, and asking them, are you hearing this? Are you seeing this? When I was meeting with Bigfoot Ops and getting to know their area to look around, the one place where I saw the most potential activity from the subjects, we were talking with the guy that's kind of coordinating this, and just having a conversation with him. And in this one area, we'd hear some activity in the woods, not just sticks breaking and snapping and things like that, but actual, not the big lyrical singing rising up whoop, but just kind of a low level whoop. And we heard 3 or 4 of those talking, and we would just keep up our conversation and just point in the direction that we thought we heard something, and nod at each other when we recognized that we were hearing that. Now, Brent, when you were down there, did you have any sort of similar experiences when you were getting oriented down there?
As far as what you've heard and those type of experiences?
Yeah.
Or just in general? Or
anything else. I know you heard a couple of wood knocks or potential wood knocks.
I was out with Ben and another buddy of mine, and we were out there day one, and we recorded a wood knock. I recorded it. It's on my channel. It's like from a few months ago. And, we heard it in real time, reacted in real time, and we didn't find the source of it. There's a whistle at that time too that I thought I recorded, but didn't. A buddy of mine heard a whoop off in the distance, kind of down across from the Delta, or from Delta. We heard those owl sounds, which, I don't remember if I told you, but Illinois Sasquatch just recorded an owl sound from a month ago or so with that, and it sounds exactly like the one that we recorded, the first 2, not the last one.
Yeah.
But it's
the third sound in that, it's so buried in the other owl, it's kind of hard to pick out.
Mm-hmm. It is, yeah. But the first 2, it sounded exactly like our recording, but the last long part Didn't match up with that, but it's a good, interesting area. Long history of Bigfoot activity. In fact, we were talking about going camping down there, not at that particular spot, just because we've heard of a different area that non-Bigfoot related. It's just a cool camping area, which is literally like down the road from there. So it's a good area.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, for bird calls, we were sitting out in an area that we've been talking about using for a research area. It's near that spot with the short video that I shared, just because I really liked that river. And
oh yeah,
I just sat back at that area, but the river was so loud. Hell, a Squatch could walk up breaking sticks right next to the car, and I wouldn't hear it over the river. I want to be able to hear what's going on around me.
And that's a great example right there. I mean, the river that you walked up to, the creek that you walked up to, if people go to his channel, you'll see this video. It's a very short one. But the creek that he walked up to, on the other side of that creek is an old logging road, because this road was washed out. And, people don't really ever cross that creek. So we're talking about people don't go to, certain areas for decades, just because the lack of access of really truly getting to it. It's very few people go to those areas. So people are ever wondering why we can't find Bigfoot, there's plenty of places for him to hide.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't show up well on the video. There were a couple of mountain bike tracks going back up there, but I'm sure they didn't try to cross that stream that high.
Well, maybe during the low flow, you can easily cross that. That's something that we're kind of hoping to do this year. But yeah, at that flow, good luck. You're taking a
I mean, it wasn't apparent, but the side stream that was coming down and flowing into the stream, that's actually the continuation of the old road. That's flowing off the old road bed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how nature takes it back.
But we were sitting out there, and about 10:30 or so, my wife turns to me, I just heard a warbler. Nah. Oh, okay, which side of the car? I didn't hear it. And then I heard it. I heard it again. And it might have been a goldfinch. I heard it a few more times. It's unusual to hear them after dark, but if there's a predator out close to the nest, yeah, they'll get out, they'll move around, they'll try to bait the predator away from the nest. About 30 minutes later, I heard the same thing on my side of the car. And they were fairly close. Each time I took out the thermal and did a sweep around the car, and nothing big moving around, and we'd have heard big stuff moving around the brush there. The coolest thing, though, I got just the right angle on the thermal, and I caught a spot that looked like head and upper torso leaning out around a bush, and I had to look at that for about 10 or 15 seconds before I came to realize, okay, yeah, whatever it is, it's the same temperature as the trees around it. That's not a warm living thing.
Yeah, that's a dead giveaway. Yeah.
But it's a very interesting shape to run across.
That's not the first time that's happened.
Yeah, but I didn't put it up on YouTube saying, "Here, Sasquatch with a red circle."
No, who was it? Gosh, who was it? It was the Livewire guys. I want to say one of them's the same. I can't remember their names. They did the same thing, except that they never put it out there as Bigfoot evidence. They actually did the opposite. They said this is where we got fooled. Was from this the side of a tree. It looked like something was, but it was the same temperature as some of the other trees, and it turned out to be water in the tree. And they called themselves out on it, which is the whole you be your own critic of your footage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And they knocked that out of the park. I mean, I couldn't believe Bigfooters did that. Like they called out their own footage. Blew my mind, man.
Yeah, I was thinking about taking that footage and the next 2 or 3 sweeps and the 2 or 3 sweeps before that, because I could never get that shape back into the image. I could get the same sort of hot spot, but I could never get that shape back onto the image.
That was, here we go. That was Larry and Mark from Beast TV. Yes, it was. And that was, again, that blew my mind. And yeah, the reason why you probably couldn't get that same image is, again, it may have to do with moisture in the tree that was warmer than the rest of the tree. And again, that's why advanced thermal is a must. And I'll leave it at that. What's up, Daniel?
Well, I'm not looking for definitive thermal footage. I just want to know if there's something
that's right.
near my cam.
Yeah, we had that conversation earlier. But for those who are, and those people are out there, and Mark and Larry are probably one of them, to say, hey, we're going to use thermal to get like a nice outline of a Bigfoot out there, and at least be able to see it, if not, observe it for some period of time. There's a lot of those people out there. That's why they use thermal.
Yeah, but the big thing for that is to do it this week and then to do it next week. And maybe you don't get them the week after that, but then the week after that, you see them again. You get consistent activity in an area.
I agree. And yeah, you're giving some spoilers out for the content. But yeah, let's welcome Daniel to the show. What's up, bud? Glad you're here tonight.
What's up, guys? Glad I can make it in. How are you guys doing?
All right. Pretty good, man. Do you have anything to add to what you've heard so far, man?
Not quite yet. I like to sit back and listen and try to pick up on things, and
sure.
I'm sure I will eventually, but you mind if I go ahead and plug something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
All right. I do. I just want to throw it out there as a reminder. Here we are. We're approaching the end of May, and about to enter June. Our big event is happening at the end of June 26th and June 27th for the annual ECBRO Virginia Bigfoot Conference, and it's going down. We got a great lineup of speakers, a lot of vendors, and we got some cool stuff that's going to be presented, as well as the items we have on for raffle. Not to mention an upcoming Bigfoot documentary. A trailer for that is actually going to be released May 18th. You should be out by noontime, the latest. That's something you guys will check out. It'll be on YouTube. I'll be sharing it around. It actually features yours truly, so be on the lookout for that. It's called Elusive Legend. So, and I'm kind of excited about it. I saw the trailer for myself from Justin, the producer, who put it together with me, and there's a few others in there sharing their story and some scenes from what we did. Just give everybody something to look forward to on that. And I'll probably have it shared on my YouTube channel, Bigfoot Zone. So, I just want to throw that out there. So, and check that out. If you want to know more about the event, go to www.vabigfootcon.com. So all you need to know is there. So thank you for letting me throw that in there. So
yeah, bud. Yeah. Patrick, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, Gary Johnson asked a question. He's asked it a couple of times. I was wondering if I could answer it.
Yeah, which one?
Do you look for certain colors in your surroundings, Patrick? And there was another one pertaining to, what I look for. The first thing I do is I look at my surrounding areas, the forest around my areas, and I look for areas that are void of man, that have natural barriers, and areas that are behind those natural barriers to keep man, that will deter man from just walking into it. Because most men are, modern men, they don't want to work hard to get to a specific area. So I look for those areas. I look for topography, and I look for a way to get to larger areas to hunt or, do what they need to do. And then I go in to those areas and I circle them, and I'm looking for holes in the woods, depressions in the ground, how the substrate is compressed and in a long line, and it can be meandering, but that's a pretty good indication of either an old trackway that could be seasonal and could become active again at a certain point of the year, or it's just you just have to go in there and investigate and see what you can find on that old trackway. But that is a starting point that I use. That's before I get to tracking, but then I start tracking there.
Sweet. Rad. What about you, Daniel? Do you look for those kinds of signs, or pay attention to certain colors in your area that you're familiar with?
As far as colors, not specifically. I do look for things that do stand out. I mean, when I go exploring through the woods, I do try to take my time. I'm very observant. My main thing is, depending on the area you're in, my area, a lot of my area is very thick and marsh, and depending, like I said, depends on what part of the area you're in, because it's a very large area I cover. And, if I'm in, I always look for tracks, and I listen for sounds, 'cause you got to listen for sounds, the movement of what might be in the area. Most of your predators usually don't hang in the area if you're approaching, because, especially bears, but bears, you never know. You could startle a bear. It wouldn't be the first time I walked up on a bear. But by the time I've noticed it was already taken off. But, still, they're usually pretty well aware of you anyway. But, like I said, it really depends. It depends on the weather too. There's a lot of things that will play tricks on somebody. If the wind's blowing, you're going to hear different sounds. You might hear a Bigfoot tree, but that's funny. We all know that trees make all kinds of weird sounds. I've had trees squeak and squeal and make all kinds of weird noises from the way they rub and bend, and on other trees. I've had some of them actually startle me, because you hear from out of nowhere. You're like, what the heck? And then you realize what it is if you, don't get too, I don't know, excited about it. But I don't know. I like to take my time. So I don't know. I'm very simple. I don't get too complicated out there. So, but as far as tracks go, I'll throw this out there. Today I got off of work early, and I decided on the way home I was going to go down by the river to throw a few lines, take a few casts, and then this part of the river, I was trying to find an area, get down close to the river, and I saw where there was a creek. Part of the river split off. It pretty much split off to a creek, and I finally was able to get down into that area, because I was trying to get into the bigger part of the river. I figured, maybe if I cross the creek, I could get over to the other part of the river I want to get to. So I'm down there in the creek, part of it's flowing pretty good. There's a lot of rocks. There's, and on the edges of the creek, it's muddy here and there. You got to watch where you step. However, I did come across something today. I was slightly surprised, but then again, from what I found, I didn't get too excited, because I had to think about what I found. All right, let me tell you what I found instead of beating around the bush. It was tracks. I found 2 tracks. One was very clear, and it was it's either one of 2 things. I'll tell you this much. It's not a bear. What I found was either a human child or a juvenile. It was one or the other. And I took pictures of it. I took pictures of the surrounding area, and I had to think, I had to put in my mind, I wanted to believe, because I found humanoid foot tracks in the mud. Anybody will, most of your average Bigfooter or enthusiast is going to be like, man, I found juvenile tracks. I want to believe that, because I know how easy it is to fall into that deception. But I had to think, wait a minute, I found my way down here. What if there was a kid walking along here playing in the water, and happened to step on the side of the, walking along the rocks here where there happened to be some mud, and stepped there. Then the other side of me was thinking, I said, well, it was kind of steep for me to walk down here and get down here. It's real thick through here. I mean, there could be snakes along here. I was trying to think of that thing. I mean, but I can't rule out a child. I cannot rule out a human child as much as I want to.
Well, they could have
because of
they could have took a boat down there too.
What's that?
They could have took a boat down there and just anchored off on the sandbar wherever you're at.
Well, this part of the creek where I was walking along, I mean, basically you could basically walk across it. It was probably about 20 feet, maybe 15, 20 feet wide. But parts of it was, there was some pockets where it was probably 3 or 4 feet deep in some parts of it. It was a lot of rocks. It was a quick running, rapid creek. Like I said, I wanted to post pictures of it, but then a part of me said, no, I mean, I'll share it to you guys, but it's like, I didn't want to post it publicly because, I'm usually pretty objective of my own findings, but then again, like I said, it could be a child, I mean, I have to think like that because I know I wasn't the only one down there. I'm sure other people had to make their way down there. Because I did find what appeared to be old shoe or boot tracks down that area. So, I mean, like I said, if I made it down there, I'm sure other people have been down there. Somebody could have been walking along and their kid was barefoot walking along there for some reason. But it was interesting that I did come across it. Again, I did take pictures of the tracks. I took pictures of the surrounding area. So, but yeah, not far around the corner from where I was at, there was two old gentlemen fishing in the main part of the river. Like I said, I was on the part that split off of the river. So, but I don't know. It was interesting either way you look at it. It was fun. I guess you could say it was fun to find, regardless of what it is. So, but I'll leave it at that, I guess. But
no,
so
that's interesting.
Did you catch anything?
No, I had a few small little smallmouth bass and follow my bait. I was just casting my spinner bait or whatever, with just doing some basic bass fishing. I caught a couple smallmouth bass a few days ago. At another part of the river, but so it was just one part of the river I haven't been in. I wanted to play around in there. I had some time since I got off of work a little earlier today, so but I enjoyed just being there. It's nice. Nice environment out there on the river, the woods. So, yeah. But, yeah, that was my day.
Patrick, don't you have a lot of I'm getting feedback from somewhere else.
Pretty sure our Sasquatches, we all are.
You guys hear that?
Yeah, I'm hearing an echo. Yep.
I think it's Daniel.
Let me mute myself.
Testing.
Check. Yep.
Yeah, that fixed it.
Hello.
It says, pretty sure our Sasquatches are the reason the hogs aren't here, a farm in Muskogee, Oklahoma. We have plenty of thick woods. Arkansas River is half a mile north, but people are hunting hogs 15 miles south. I do know that hog is on the menu, and it is something they enjoy.
It is at my house.
I developed a hypothesis, just much like Daniel was talking about. He found a juvenile track, and he could not rule out a kid. And I was in an area very similar situation, a little perfect track in a red clay mud, go across the road from one wood line to the other, very narrow road, and it's stamped in the middle of that road, perfect little track. You see the wrinkles in the feet, and I couldn't rule out a kid. So what I did is I had some wild hog ribs I was roasting on a fire at a camp, and I had 2 left. And I took and I stuffed them up on a log. And during the night, those little tracks snuck up to that log, got those roasted pork ribs off that log, and took off with them. So you tell me what kind of kid's going to be out there in the middle of the night stealing roasted hog ribs off of a log between 11 at night and 4 in the morning.
Right.
Well, let me ask you guys something. I'm not no anthropologist. I don't, I know the basics about people's feet. But one thing I could mention, like I said, you can see this in the pictures I took. Now, even a young child, wouldn't a human child's foot, like, most of us, unless we're flat footed, but I guess a child could be flat footed. But the one thing I did not notice in this track was any instep, or, you know what I mean? The ball of the foot, no flex, what people call the mid-tarsal break, or as Jeff Meldrum corrects it, he refers to it as the flexation. None of that was really noticeable in that. It looked like it was very flat, and then you had 5 clear toes. Would that be common, or would a child actually have the instep present?
Genetics takes a large part of what kind of arch you have in your foot, what your parents had, what your grandparents had. Genetics can skip a generation and then come back in on another generation on whether you have a flat foot or arch foot in humans. In general, what I find of a Sasquatch track, and that was juvenile or up to 22-inch track, is that it is a flat-footed track. Okay, if you find a track that has an archway to it where you see more compression on the balls of the feet and heel than anything else, that's human.
Tell you what, I'm going to pause myself here, mute myself. I'm going to try to see if I can get those pictures to Pat, and if he wants to pull them up, let you guys look at them. I'll try to send Pat those pictures, so I'll be right back.
So, thoughts? Anybody else?
Well, when a human is walking, most humans don't have the flexible foot. Some actually do, which is interesting. But most humans will push off with the toes. So the toes are going to be deeper on the track. And also with the arch of the foot, that arch is going to show a lot more pressure along the side of the foot than where the arch is.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that Pat could draw upon in debate in the future, they brought up fossil record a little bit and DNA a little bit. Well, we have a lot of DNA that comes from different hominins in our. Let me use the term vine instead of branch, because it kind of branches out and then comes back together as we find parts of the family that broke away and then bring them back into the family, as it were. And there are a bunch of what they call ghosts in our DNA that we don't have any fossil evidence for that they existed at all, but these species exist in our DNA, and some people have them, some people don't. I stumbled upon a video that talked about an old, I wouldn't call it a science, but an old ancestry method that used the shape of human feet. And I found it interesting that they had 8 different shapes of human feet. And now with the DNA ghosts, we can account for 8 different kinds of hominin ancestors that we have. There's an interesting coincidence. And some of those may have the more flexible foot. That may be where that comes from.
That's very interesting, curious.
Do we have pictures? Do we have pictures?
I had a thought. I had a thought and I lost it.
Oh, that train derailed.
Yeah. No survivors at all.
It happens on here all the time. Right.
Well, I got so fascinated with what Steve was saying, I was just like, I lost it. I just dropped it on the floor. I don't know what happened.
No, we're gonna get in some more thoughty stuff here in a minute, but just somebody take over for a second. I'll talk to chat.
Brent,
Yeah, Pat, did you get those pictures I sent you?
Not yet. Or I
Oh,
may
okay.
have. I don't see it in my Facebook notifications.
Okay. All right, no problem.
Felton. Oh, well, I'm tired. It's been a long week. I'm gonna tell you.
Dude,
I
it
gotta work.
has.
I gotta work tomorrow.
Really?
I mean, I've been reading prints and building shit and doing math all damn day, and I'm tired.
I hear
But
you, bro.
but
There we go. I had to plug my phone in. There we go.
Well, I mean, some tracks are better than others, right? I mean, but I'm guessing, Patrick, that you're gonna pick up on subtleties that I'm not.
yeah. When it comes to a Bigfoot track, flat-footedness is one of them. And and I hear a lot of people say, "Well, it had an 8-foot stride, or had this stride or that stride," and I don't pay a damn bit attention to that because these things will sneak around. You'll see a 3-foot stride, you'll see a 4-foot stride. They'll just it's just like trying to predict your stride. You're not always trying to get from point A to point B. Sometimes you're just dilly dallying around.
Yeah,
Exactly.
mostly.
Yeah. If you see my strides 4 feet apart, you better try to catch up. Something's coming. And that's a pretty rare thing. But mostly what I find in the tracks is, other than flexibility and the flatness of them, proportionally they're different than a human foot track. You know, there's a bone, and this is actually my own theory that I'm working on. To me, it's 99% good, so I'll talk about it. But there's a bone. There's a proportional difference between the big toe and the length of a Sasquatch track than there is a human foot and the length of the human foot and the bone itself proportionally. And I went back 10,000 years to fossilize tracks of man and its foot and his big long toes. Well, I compare it to what I know a Sasquatch left, and a lot of people, and there are some skeptics that could be on here going, "Well, he's calling a Sasquatch track, but we don't know what made it." I know what made it. I've seen them. I was behind it when they made them. It's a Sasquatch track, and the toe is proportionally shorter. The bigger one is, compared to the rest of the heel. The rest, all the way down to the heel. So I also look for that as well, and the weight. They're very, very stealthy in the woods, but they cannot hide their weight. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I like how you stated how, like, you were talking about how some strides are closer because, like you said, like people, we dilly dally around, we're hanging, we're not going on a long power walk or whatever. Now, I have come across a cluster. I call it a partial trackway because there was probably about 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5, 6 steps, maybe. But looked like they were like, the tracks were in pairs, but they were like 2 here, another set over, just a couple of less than 2 feet. They were just in like weird clusters, and it's like they were maybe like hanging around there, just like stepping, like just not really going nowhere. Then again, I have found, along with a couple others, found this with me. It was another partial trackway, but there was several steps in a long straight line, and I have pictures of it where we actually took plaster and powdered the tracks so we could pick it up in the picture. And we had, these ones in particular, most of them were pretty wide. Then again, there was a couple of them that were very close. The ones that were wider was further up behind where our base camp was, and right there where the tree line comes out, before it comes out into the open, is where the tracks got closer, as if it was stopping before it went out in the open. And to me, that would make sense, that it's not going to just, especially if there's people in that area, it's going to take precautions, I would assume. So, and now other people's tracks, I have seen other tracks where people are like, those are too close together. That's within human range. I don't like when people say that, because they really don't know. It's like those people are like, oh, they're pretty much self-proclaiming themselves an expert or a know-it-all. You don't know if those are human. I mean, if they're big enough tracks, if their strides long enough or not long enough, like you stated, unless we're running or walking, or it depends on whatever is happening there.
Well, perception, our perceptions, drive our thought processes, and vice versa, but how we're thinking and how we're perceiving, it's just, this couldn't be this because of that person's thought process.
Right.
But, that can also be equated to a lack of experience. And that's not anything derogatory. It's just, there are no experts at this. There's just people that have more experience, and there's people that have less experience. I've probably got over 10,000 hours in the woods researching, and that's just sad. That's not bragging. I mean, I don't have a damn life, I guess. But when you start talking about, the difference between, trying to differentiate between human tracks and Sasquatch tracks, stomp your foot in the mud and take a picture of it, and then save that. And the next Sasquatch track you find, or you could maybe even Google up, I would actually go to Dr. Jeff Meldrum's collection and pull up one of his casts and compare what you're looking at in your foot and it. And you'll see the subtle differences between a Sasquatch foot and a human foot. And that's another thing and another reason why, people, how can people say that, we have something that is medically and scientifically not just plausible, but possible, but actually this is the way it needs to be for this foot to work, and you can compare it to a human foot and they're different. Okay, to me there's something different out there that's walking on two legs. Okay, and I know that's not conclusive enough for the scientific community, but it's compelling. And like I said, I don't pander to science. I am here to support the reality of the situation.
Well, the scientific community
Right.
can recognize compelling if they choose to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an engineer. I'm not an expert in that sort of estimates. I'll believe the expert estimates that I've heard that are on the order of around 800 pounds, probably give or take 100 or two.
Yeah, I'm not
So
a
she's
great
about what,
judge
6'2"?
of 7'2", wasn't she?
Somewhere around there. Yeah.
I think it's depending upon who you ask. It's between 6'2", I think 7'2". So I don't know.
Yeah, 7, around 7 feet. Yeah.
Well, if you go back and, hey Brent, if you just watched some of my stuff that I did, if you recall what height I said Patty was at, Sasha was at, 7'1" to 7'2". So,
Well, I just know, Bob Gimlin, he was on his horse. So he's a living witness to that film. Very important thing to acknowledge. He was on his horse. He said it was about as tall as him. Now I don't know if that means slightly below or slightly above, but that definitely is in the 7-foot range, not the 6-foot range.
yeah.
Now,
Well,
as far as, go ahead. Go ahead.
Just a quick, all the correlations with 20,000 people saying that they saw this and not a pink dinosaur. Okay, with all the tracks that have been casted, and you can come to my area and I can show you the same type tracks as well as what you'll find in Washington D.C. I'm pretty sure no one's driving from Washington to Louisiana to hoax that. So all the very real world reality of the situation correlation, but in this phenomenon, because that's about all we can actually say it is. That is compelling, and just like Steve said, whether the scientific community actually wants to acknowledge that or not.
Right. Well, I'll say this about Patty's weight, and this is something. This is a little bit of an exchange that me and Donald have had in the comments. I'll say this about her weight. She to me looks. She is slightly bigger than Andre the Giant, and I'm talking like 1980s, early 1980s Andre the Giant, and that guy was huge. He was a freaking Sasquatch proportion dude. Like, so he was about 7 feet tall. He weighed 500 pounds. Some would argue that he weighed more. Like Hulk Hogan insists to this day that the actual weight that he weighed in was like more like 700. But I don't know where that comes from.
And I don't think Andre the Giant was really, honestly. You look at pictures of him, you look at pictures of Patty. They're not built the same.
They're not built the
Patty
same.
is very much more robust.
We're talking, and dude, Andre was extremely robust. Andre was he was very big, and so for Patty, let's just say Patty was 10% bigger. That's so. If you're talking, Andre was 500 pounds, Patty was 10% bigger. Add another 50 pounds. So she, could have weighed north of 500, 700 max, and then we get into the 100 pound per foot, which is a little misleading because there's different anatomy as you go up the bipedal scale. So a lot of that weight would be on top, a fair amount of weight on the bottom as well, but.
Yeah, the other key factor is to consider and keep in mind that you're comparing someone that has actually, over time he had body fat versus muscle. That's something, because we all know muscle. It's been known or proven that muscle does weigh more than fat, body fat. So, but we're assuming that Patty was more muscular in tone. Compared to like somebody like you guys were comparing Andre, he was a 7-foot dude, and whatever his weight, even if they were equal, the weight difference would be different. Depends who has more muscle mass. I think that would be something to consider.
Just look at this. Look at this hand. Look at that. Look at that freaking hand, man. I mean, that is like that is baseball glove size hand.
I wouldn't want to be hit by that hand.
Yeah. So, I mean, he was every bit of Squatch proportion to some variation. That's just incredible hand right there. And I have other examples as well. Wait, you guys still there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. This is also a great photo. Sorry, guys, I'm doing production here. My brain is not cooperating. Window, bam, share. Look at that. I mean, the guy.
Wow.
Dude, he was. Him and Patty were about the same size. Ballpark. Compared to like you and me, compared to me and Daniel being the same size, or Patrick and Brent being the same size. Like, he was roughly the same size as Patty, which is interesting and ironic in a way, because 6 years later he would play the role of Bigfoot in the $6 Million Man, or 7 years later, I think it was. But he was not. He couldn't have played the role of Patty because he was leaner. He was 21, and he lived in France in 1967. So that's my Andre soapbox. I'll get off.
After all these years, they can't debunk it. In fact, they start pulling it up with better resolution using computer, imaging of it, and you start seeing the muscles bounce and
You
flex.
start
as it
seeing
moves.
more detail.
Yeah, you start seeing the muscles moving in the thighs and everything in the arms, and as it swings and sways and moves. And science says, I can't debunk it, but it ain't real. That goes back to that mindset.
All right, related, Patrick, and this is definitely your area. Can you answer this for Donald? He's just trying to understand why her footprints were so deep, and I don't think they were extremely deep, but
it depends on the soil substrate and
sandbars.
The moisture content.
It was a sandbar, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was a part of the river was partially dried up and throughout that area. And there was a lot of sandbars. There was very little moisture in the area, though, according to what was reported and stated. But
Oh, you talking about
from what I
patties?
recall?
Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, if you look, that was a sandy area, and like I said before, these things are stealthy. They're quiet, but they cannot hide their weight. Okay. The one that snuck in on me when I was in my deer stand, and the one that stepped across the road with Christie Sci-Fi, and I was investigating. The ground, the rocks and that gravel, you could hear them groan under the weight of that foot. You could hear the substrate in the ground groan just about as the weight was applied under that foot. You can't hide the weight of it. No matter how fast or elusive or great they are in the woods.
And yeah, I'm not sure what you mean, Lockbeard. I might be missing some context here. But Andre the Giant was a extremely unique human being because he had the perfect amount of like the genetic disorder with actual human like physicality, so he's an anomaly. For Patty, it just shows you how big Bigfoot is. She was a female, so there's no female ever in the existence of the human species ever documented that freaking big, which would be bigger than Andre the Giant. No human female ever. So,
and her legs were big around, like Meldrum described, his chest could fit inside her thigh.
Yeah. And I think that's pretty accurate from everything we've been able to like calculate with the PG film, which is like, I can't wait to talk to Stephen Stroufford about this because I think he has a good understanding of it too, since he's always going down to Bluff Creek. He's got to be calculating stuff, right? Right, Brent?
Yeah, they've done the most type of work and restoration to the PG film site, found it and restored it, and was able to do some measurements with landmarkers that were still there from the PG film. So they've done a lot. So yeah, he's your go-to source of anything PG film related, anything at all. You can even go to Coalition and talk to people who was there pretty much the day after the PG film was shot, and talk to people who was there in the film site, tell you where it was, what it was all like back then. Jim McLaren, good guy to talk to.
Patrick.
And the PG film, you could actually, at the time, you could actually drive right up to it too. I think Thomas made.
Oh wow!
Mention that last time.
Yeah, I don't think you can do that anymore, but
you can now, but you could back in 1967.
Hey Pat, check out private chat.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, I don't know if the email actually will discern out who that is, but if it is that person, it'd be pretty cool.
So the world's tallest woman was 3 inches taller than Andre the Giant. Yeah, she didn't have a 86-inch waist. She was thin.
Yeah, I don't think she was a stout. Probably just more taller. Yeah, taller.
Yeah, extremely thin. Robert Wadlow was 9 feet tall, one inch short of 9 feet tall. Lived to the ripe age of 21. Could barely walk. As a teenager, had to have a cane. and he was tall, lanky, and thin.
Yep.
So the volume is what matters. So yeah, there's no woman in the world that can fit the volume of Patty. So if that's a person in a suit, it's a man that they decided to put
Well, some people think that.
pendulous breasts on.
Well,
Yeah, well, some people think that she was pregnant, or just gave birth to a child, and that's why she has the bigger breast than what other primates would have, because the bigger breast is more of a human thing.
yeah.
You don't really find that in
I agree.
primates.
Big breasts are a human thing.
Mhm.
Well, if you want to keep talking about the PG film, I'd set aside all of the newer discoveries, and going back, I've been comparing Pat's debate with Meldrum a few months earlier on the same channel, and Meldrum brought up 6 criteria that show up within the PG film that at the time were completely counterintuitive for what primatologists would expect of a species like that. But within a year to the next 2 to 5 years, many of those criteria that were used to completely dismiss that film as preposterous became the expected criteria for what a transition species might look like. But then everyone who had already dismissed PG didn't want to look back and say, gee, that was kind of interestingly predictive.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of what I was talking about. Our thought processes, how they perceive, interpret, and what part of it, and no matter how brilliant we are, we have to accept that we do bring a certain amount of flaw to what we're doing. It's kind of like a question I asked: how much bias is in science? I actually looked that up. There is, and there's things to do to guard against having bias towards your scientific findings. But some people get very opinionated, and they really want it to be one way. So how much bias is in that? So. Yeah, that's why I go with the reality of the situation more than I do anything else.
Yeah, it was a different thinking. And Meldrum articulates it in a way that I could never do unless I memorized the words he says when he says them, which is basically, it was a different kind of, you're talking about really not 1960s academic thinking. You're talking about like late 40s, early 50s. That's where these academics would have been educated and gotten their, set in their ways. And Meldrum articulates all that very well and makes good points about, it looks like an ape from the waist up, but it looks like a human from the waist down, and the conflict that kind of came with that.
And that's one of those things, yeah.
Yeah, and then it was 7 or 8 years later, Lucy was discovered, which was waist up ape, waist down human.
Actually, it was only about a year later.
Was it? Okay. So yeah, it wasn't that much longer, obviously. That bam, we had that example in nature, and discovered, and since then have discovered all kinds of different types of hominins and and hominoids, or hominids and hominins in the fossil record that existed at the same time as co-competitors, competing with each other, which again, back in the 60s wasn't a thing, so.
And he also described the evolution of that idea pretty well.
Yes.
And all of these things would be better to have in a debate environment. It would be better to have at hand in this card file as opposed to something you'd have to look up and remember, or just have
Which
no.
I do. I have
Yeah.
I have that filed away along with a lot of other otherwise useless information in my everyday freaking life. So so there's a balance, but I have a lot of that stuff filed
So
away.
the index got mixed up.
I
Sometimes.
I just remember what I had on my mind when Steve was made me forget. As far as the debate goes, it was more about tactics. It was more about
It
throwing
was.
information out there, setting fires that someone has to put out that are dumb as hell, but they still, there's so many of them, you feel compelled to address them and to do it long enough to deny the time frame of pulling out any evidence or any counter or any productive, hey, this is what we've seen, this is what we can show, this is the evidence we can produce for our case.
Part of that, Patrick, is just having more experience in the debate format and
Yes.
and being able to stick to your topic and stick to your material and not get drawn into someone else's material.
Yes, but as a tactic, and it's what it was, and it was for carnage. A debate channel is there, and people go there to watch it for carnage. Okay, they love to see the Perrier and the sword play, and they want to see that kind of, I don't want to say interaction. This actually, to me, it was extremely one-sided. It was more about the game than it was the information. And I don't care for that, even though I understand debate is healthy, but I don't care for it when it comes into strictly for the game and not for the benefit.
Yeah, there was a lot of tactics deployed. I was not prepared for that debate. I admit openly and freely. I didn't completely drop the ball. I had other factors I was dealing with.
As Leon has said and will say again, it was experiential.
Yeah.
You weren't prepared for what you went in against in a few different ways, but having experienced that, you know more about what's coming, and if you choose to go into that format again, you'll be a lot better prepared, and you'll probably do a lot better.
Yeah, it was a learning experience, man.
Yeah,
And I mean, I was up against. I would say most of it came from Team Skeptic. Like that guy, man, he's sharp as a freaking tack, and he is a pro at debating.
well, you just got to set a limit of, okay, they asked 5 questions, now I'm going to stop them here, and I'm going to ask my 5 or put what I want.
Yeah.
And then you do, and they may, I'm not going to tell them I'm doing that, but they're not going to run over me. I'm going to give them a limit. Say, okay, we'll put a pin in this here and come back to it. I have something I want to say.
Yeah, I wished I'd have had Leon there. Just for the record, I tried and I tried and I tried, and Leon's a busy guy. He has a life of things that he has to do and responsibilities, like pretty serious responsibilities as far as I could tell.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I really wanted him there because I felt that the two of us together would have made a real complimentary team.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, I was dead last pick, so don't even bring me up. Yeah, I saw your list.
Okay, that's maybe half true, but not really.
Yeah.
No, dude. I mean, I would have trusted any of you guys there with me.
I think, yeah, but I think Patrick would have been a really good choice because he could talk from more of a knowing type of perspective versus because both of you have never seen a Bigfoot, so you're still like me out there trying to know and learn if it's true or not, if it's real or not.
Right.
Patrick can at least talk about more detailed, a different perspective of that conversation because of the different experiences that he had. And so having somebody on the team that has direct experience would be a really good option on communicating what they were kind of asking, because they did their research. You could tell they did research on this. You know, you did a great job. You know, it's just you know, it'd be good to have somebody on there that has that side. I guess Leon has that as well, but
Dude,
Patrick has a different perspective of it.
Yeah, and Leon's in chat. Of course, he can jump in here whenever he wants. But
I'll tell you what, if you ever get into another debate, oh no, I was going to say, I tell you a good person to get to know. I don't know. Her name's Melissa Adair. Some of you may know her. She's lives out of Georgia. And many years ago, several years ago, I was on a podcast with her and a few others where basically everybody, it was like maybe four of us versus one. And it was very interesting because it was actually, I don't even know if, I was on there. But anyway, it was the debate regarding the Patterson footage. And it was, I forget the guy's name that he was a non-believer in it. Although he is a believer in Bigfoot, but he was a naysayer when it came to Patty. And tell you what, she knows her stuff. She's pretty sharp herself. You might want to, she's worth checking into. I don't know if she gets involved with podcasts, but she gets her boots on the ground. She gets out there and explores. A lot of times she does it with her family and everything. But Melissa Adair, she's a pretty cool person when it comes to the Patterson footage. So, yeah. So
There he is.
sorry, I can't. All right. So just for the record, Leon, my StreamYard, the pattern is full, and it drops you below the pattern, and I'm like, I don't see anybody there. So just so you know that. And thanks, Daniel, for that heads up. Yes, put me in touch with her via you.
okay, sure.
Yeah, you, me, and her. She sounds like somebody interesting to talk to. Patrick, go ahead. What's up?
Leon, did you bring the talking cat?
Yeah. Over there.
How you doing, Leon?
Or Sean.
You guys are tired. You did have a tough week. I'm tired as well. My brain's really slow. I was trying to jump on like earlier, and I was going to get you guys all riled up a bit. I got a couple energy notches. Andre the Giant, the most he ever weighed is 520 pounds. The biggest person that's alive today is a guy named the Sultan. He's 11 feet 2 inches. And he walks normal and everything, except he's very skinny. So that's more to the conversation of what you guys had before. Yeah. So there you go.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
I can answer all the other questions I was sitting backstage for 45 minutes if you like.
45 minutes.
Well, do a shot at them anyways. No, never mind.
We're just ignoring that.
I was feeling very isolated and alone. However, I'll tell you, people are just incredible. Somebody paid for my car insurance for an entire year today. That's what I woke up to. Oh, by the way, check your car insurance. I thought, holy shit.
Well, Leon,
my policy number right here. Hold on, let me put it up on the screen.
Leon, we were doing the Schrodinger's test on you.
Oh, nice. I failed.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
No, he's still alive. We're amazed.
Leon. Which I got some other business with you, Leon. Important, like cool stuff. You'll dig it. Yeah. It has nothing to do with pendulous breasts. There, I worked at it twice tonight. I said it twice. Pendulous breasts.
I'm going to be careful. Get myself in trouble with Kim. Yeah. Is that what you call them? Honey, Can I see your? What?
Oh my God! All
Good
right,
Lord.
this is turning into a different podcast, which people might enjoy even more. I don't know. Let's get a
Well,
vote
maybe
in
he's
chat.
just working towards a demonstration of emotional energy discharge.
Oh, that's your wit is. Of course, Patrick totally got a visual on that one. Nikki is in the audience, gentlemen. There are ladies present here. Get a grip on it.
Oh my gosh. No pun intended, huh?
Yeah, totally.
All right, so I got So by the way, let me address this real quick. I don't know if he's still watching or not. But there was a viewer tonight that came from the Modern Day Debate channel from that debate last Tuesday, and he wanted to be a part of the conversation. I'm assuming I think it's a he, wanted to be a part of the conversation. So so whatever, I gave him my email address. He hit me up immediately, and so I would like to have this person on. I'll probably vet them a little bit, but I'd like to have them on as a curious. It seems like a curious skeptic. Patrick was suspicious that it was PhD Tony, which that's fine. PhD Tony,
Yeah.
come on. Okay, here we are.
I actually invited him. I told him to come in.
This is it. This is the person.
I told him to get a hold of you.
Yeah. So here's
it's
the curious skeptic. Still watching, still in chat, and so I think we should invite them on. Are you a he or a she? I assume it was a male.
Org looks like has beard on cartoon icon on image or profile.
And yes, are you PhD Tony? I'm
not PhD Tony, although I do know him.
All right.
It's great if they're PhD. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter who it is.
All right. So yeah, man. We'll.
Oh, wait a second. Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead. Yep.
Yeah. No. I'll talk to them more and him more, and we'll maybe have him on one night, or not maybe, but I think we should have him on one night and be a part of the discussion.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, he was willing. He sounded like he wanted to come on tonight.
Yeah, I watched that earlier,
and so he's not he's not afraid of being ganged up on. He seemed like, I'm assuming, like he just wanted to kind of be a part of the discussion and maybe curiously pick our brains. I don't know.
Well, maybe he just wants to ask us questions.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we should give good answers to those questions instead.
Right, we could all be in the hot seat.
So instead of.
So
yes.
Well, I mean, there's 6 of us want him. I'm not scared tonight if you wanted to bring him on.
I think we should wait for another night.
Yeah.
But he should definitely come on if he wants to ask us lots of questions. Yeah, he has every right to do that. Release the hounds. And that's what happened to you at the debate. They released the hounds.
But only here, not in general.
That's how people learn is.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Everyone's talking at one time. Let's take our time. Patrick, you were saying something. Brent and Steve, what'd you say?
Well, you can learn a lot from your greatest critic.
Yeah, and like you said, like to learn new things. It's supposed to be about education. Problem is, we walked into madness.
Yeah.
And the madness is the inmates that believe that they're actually the staff for the asylum. So anybody coming into this topic better be aware of that. So
I I came in looking for a Bigfoot expert because
Good luck.
I was researching him for 16 years by myself. I come in like, hey, there should be an expert in this community. Let's go in here and look in here for an expert. And I'm like, yeah, y'all know about stuff. And they're like, if they got blank looks and glassy eyes, I'm like, oh crap, you know.
Yeah, if they don't say two phrases, especially when they use the scientific method, if they don't say Merton's norm, or if they don't say, as Steve always says, the baloney detection kit, they know nothing about the scientific method. Ask them those two questions. There's a good one. We use the scientific method. Which one? They'll have the glazed look, and you're waiting for Merton's norm or the baloney detection kit. Oh, who did those kits up? Who were they done by? You want to find out if the person knows, at least has some kind of framework for looking at and collecting data correctly. And also, and you know, I can fool myself and I deal with the brain. You guys know that. And the problem is I've confused myself. My brain actually has confused me because it's all these programming systems that are running automatic way before it releases the teletype to the front part of the cortex. So you
got a talking cat, so
exactly. So, but I mean, that's all. I mean, that was the debate the other night was
cool.
a perfect example of how far we have to come in regards to learning how to articulate and not be. Pat, you and I and Steve were talking the other night about it. As soon as you're subjective in your opinion, you've lost your point, because you need to be objective, because what you're supposed to be coming out of your mouth is objective data, and those guys would have totally appreciated objective data. And a lot of times, what's his name there? Not who was the other? Who not PhD Tony or PhD
Team Skeptic.
Yeah, Team Skeptic.
He's
asking for the right stuff when he keeps saying, "Who are you citing?" We have very lazy thinking as far as general population goes in regards to academic thinking, because we're not trained in it. And if any of you go for a degree and you're over 40, say, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Well, actually, if you go from high school for your first degree, you'll know what I'm talking about. I can't do this. You know, they hand you the syllabus, you get syllabus-itis. Want you to read 18 books. These are all the books we want you to go through. You literally go into shock mode because your brain can actually stretch that far, but we have lazy thinking because we don't have to stretch it that far. And that's why those guys had some pretty good, solid questions. We should have had very deep, systematic answers for them. But again, we're outgunned because most of the people who in the general population are introduced to the Bigfoot community, entertainment, online stuff.
Yes.
And that primes their thinking. So even these guys who counter debate for you, that's who they're used to talking to.
Yes, I know, but that's why I made the point. One of the first points I made was to separate the phenomena from the online community. I said it more than once.
Yeah, you have to.
So I was trying to set up that
right.
situation.
Right, but again, you're also dealing with confirmation bias on their side. And if you looked at the chat, and what's his name, who wants to maybe join one night, look at the chat. They even have confirmation bias. So I was thinking the other day about, what do I do if I bump into something like this? That would have been one of the good questions to ask the panel. So say I'm walking through the bush one day and I come across one of these things. What should I do just in general? Because you have to kind of clear the table from all the perception and get it back to the original spot. If say it wasn't a Sasquatch, say it was something else that we came across. And I mentioned
believe. There's that word believe.
Yeah.
None of us believe. We have faith in nothing Bigfoot.
Or anything.
Yeah.
Steve, what's the wording?
Conviction or convinced?
Convinced.
Yeah.
I'm convinced there's a real Bigfoot phenomena. Bigfoot being the colloquial word. 8-foot tall monkey man. That's what I call it. But yeah, so other cryptids, like, I don't know what, in the Bigfoot world, the other cryptids, the other big one, the one that's most connected with Bigfoot is Dog Man. And we don't know even where to begin to wrap our heads around it.
We don't let them into Washington. So
correct. That is correct. There's a wall We
guys
put
are
a
walking
wall.
a tightrope.
We got them in and out. We put up a wall up. There's a wall.
Not with me, but people are very temperamental. It seems we've learned that over the last month.
Yeah.
So what I outlined a few videos back in the essays that I do, when I'm thinking about the large hairy hominid, I will use the term Sasquatch. All the spooky and mystical and strange stuff that I just don't happen to see in the woods. So to me, it's not necessarily part of that. That's all Bigfoot. I'll call that Bigfoot. I'll give Bigfoot that. But we don't see the glowing lights and the shimmering orbs and things like that. At least where I've been out in the woods looking, it's just a dark forest.
Right. And Org there was also asking us, it was whether or not we actually believed in any other style of cryptids per se. And I know he used the word believe, but it's not.
Yeah, he clarified.
Yeah. And so the idea about the idea about any of these things, like I live up in the Okanagan in Canada, in BC, and we have the crypto groups up here that are, well, I'll tell you, they're a lot higher level of capacity for academics working alongside them, because we have, what's known as the Ogopogo, which is like a Loch Ness monster kind of concept and stuff like that. And the key part is we all love mysteries, and if we could figure out what that is, that would be cool, and we could put a check mark on it and go to the next kind of mystery. And it's not that we're closed-minded about these things, it's just that a few of us believe we've actually bumped into one. So what do you do with that? That's the problem.
Yeah, I have not run into the Me Too lake monster.
Yeah. And it's a little easier to kind of investigate whether it be a flying cryptid or a water cryptid compared to a land cryptid. At least a land cryptid, if it flies away, that's it. I'm not going to be able to see it unless I have a nice drone with me at the time. Or if it's a water cryptid, as soon as it goes under the water, what am I going to do? Dive in? At least something tactile can be found in regards to Sasquatch. Out of all of the cryptids, Sasquatch is the one that I would put my money on, that it's probably out there. We just don't know how to get it yet. So we're discovering it.
Lose, Brent.
Yeah. And Patrick, I see your pointy finger. I got something for you too. So go ahead and do your pointy finger. I'll show you what it is in a sec here. Just don't want to give it away.
Well, I'm. The question was, I guess, do we believe? I'm far beyond belief. Okay, I know. I've tracked them. I've seen them, smelt them, tracked them, had them rip limbs off trees, throw at me, scream at me, yell at me, whoop at me, come to my camp and whoop outside of my camp. Now, and I've seen them. Okay, I mean and I know it probably sounds crazy to a scientist, but and I did have someone say, "Well, man, you failed not getting a picture of them." It's pretty complicated task to actually do that. Because I went in with technology and couldn't do anything with this species with technology in my hand, so I strapped a knife on and went in and then tried to solve the problem from the inside out, to see from the inside out what can be used to solve the problem. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Okay, let me know if you can see this or not. See
that? Wow, yeah. Now it's gone. Hey, I can do that.
Yeah, except it's his nose. And if you look at it, it's a booger.
Ew. I'm not doing that, dude. No way.
I don't say you do that. My brother got that for my birthday. So.
That's awesome. I like that.
Well, you know what was also crazy to science is gravitational lensing. That was crazy. That was crazy to science, and you know who proposed, who understood that gravity can bend time and space? Albert Einstein.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know what all his colleagues did? That.
Yep.
No way, dude. Are you kidding me? Gravity does not bend time and space. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. He said, okay, fine, we can prove it. We'll take it during a solar eclipse. There's a certain star behind the sun. If we take a picture in those right conditions, will demonstrate gravitational lensing. And sure enough, after several tries, that picture was finally taken, and boom.
Yeah. And they
Gravity bends time and space.
had to deal.
Nothing
they had
bends. Everything's flat like the Earth. What are you talking about?
They had to
Yeah, I
deal
mean,
with.
except for that on Earth, it's just that for some reason outside of Earth, yeah.
And the world,
Earth is flat.
and the world was in an uproar then. World War I going on. They had that I think they actually had one team detained. They got caught behind the borders. When they closed during wartime. They actually had to put it off for years until they could, work around the politics and the uproar that was going on around that. And,
Yeah, I think the picture was finally taken in South America, actually.
Yeah.
After about the fourth or fifth attempt, because the one photographer was obsessed with it because he wanted to be a part of attaching himself to groundbreaking, earth shattering theory.
Well,
And
Einstein's a personal hero of mine.
yeah, so my point is this: just one picture, made a paradigm shift in how we observe the universe, not just our planet, not just our environment or undiscovered primates. So
let's up our game, and instead of looking for something that is that small and unique, and we're looking for something 8 feet tall,
yeah,
why don't we at least figure out how to track them and learn how to track and read a track? That's the number one thing. It's not about seeing a footprint. It's about being able to tell what is a footprint from a human being and what would be one from a primate of a size that big.
yes.
And it's not just the idea you're looking at a footprint that looks like a Sasquatch footprint. You should be seeing energy discharged in the track. I see the white flag. What are you saying? I don't understand because I'm
saying I have my five criteria here for upping the game. And
okay.
I don't want to spoil it by anybody can freeze frame the stream and see it until the video is complete this weekend.
I'm just about done doing that one on Sasquatch videos we once thought were Sasquatch and turned out later not to be. I just got.
It'd be a much shorter list, Leon, to just focus on videos that are even potentially legitimate Sasquatch.
Oh, I did include that, Steve. There was one.
Okay.
And I start the video with it. So, wait a sec. I did 2 ways. I start the video with the one that, as far as I know, has most credibility. And you guys probably know which one that was. And then the rest of them are all just nope. And then at the end of it, somebody actually reached out to me, and they had a video that they had posted, and they're not a Bigfoot person. And they put on the title of the video, "Did I just see a Sasquatch?" ? And then in the description, and then it shows the video of this thing that could look like a Sasquatch, kind of, your natural quality level. Matt, you would know this level of Sasquatch is a crystal clear. No, of course not. But it's walking through this field and stuff. But in his description, he notifies everybody about what happened, how he checked, and all this kind of stuff. And it turns out it's a man. So he tells it right out front. He's still got over 10,000 views on the frickin' thing. So he contacted me and said, "Could you put this in your video and tell people this is not a Sasquatch?"
Okay, yeah. So people were ripping it. Yeah.
Blend of, is there stuff that's solid out there? There's a few videos out there that I put a thumbs up for right now to me that look pretty solid to me, but I'm not there because there'd be so much to pick up if some of the incidents are happening just in the environment. So,
well, wait, Leon. I'm going to make you proud.
Yeah.
Don't try and pause the stream, guys. You're never going to see this. You just have to wait for the video.
Do the first assignment. You got to get your intuitive sense into those questions. So when you ask them, you put the intuitive message in the question or ideas when you're putting it out to the viewer.
Oh, trust me, I got it, Leon.
So I'll take on part of this question that you've put up here.
Yeah, I would like to address it too. But go ahead, Steve, because Sheldon, she asked the question and then she reminded me that she asked the question, so I want to address it because she's in chat. So,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, the title here is Expedition Sasquatch, but I think the reference is to Expedition Bigfoot,
I believe so too.
which I often refer to as
no. Expedition. Wait.
Expedition Bigfoot.
Just ask her what she means.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a he or a she.
Okay, sorry, I don't know.
because I often refer to that as Expedition Bull stuff. And if you want to know a lot about what they do, the Coalition for Critical Thinking in Bigfoot, which is not always necessarily a good place to go for critical thinking as much as criticism. They do have a lot of good breakdown information on what's going on with that series. The first season was completely bogus and run off a dude ranch in Oregon. And the mine, the Mercury mine was an old gold mine.
And the structure they find with fresh spruce boughs busted, that must have been there for a while. No,
yeah,
fresh spruce boughs sitting there. What are you talking about?
Well, the thing is, the show is made for entertainment.
Go ahead, Brent.
Oh, I was going to say that the show's made for entertainment. It's kind of like we were talking about earlier. It's a show made for entertainment that most likely is going to have manufactured stuff on there. A lot of people speculate the producer themselves of the show, which has to create content so the show gets picked up, planted some of the evidence there.
And the graveyard that they had to go to at night in the first season, because it's on top of a hill and it overlooks the ranch where everyone is staying.
Yeah, it's
so is this the show that he's asking us about?
Yeah, Bigfoot Expedition, yes.
Okay. Yeah. They had all the great tools.
Yeah, it's just not. It's just I wouldn't go to them as actual research. They're more illustrating of what research could look like if done by more serious people.
Yeah, because they had all the right tools for sure. They had all the right tools. They just didn't use them the way I would have used them or our guys. That's for sure.
Well, I'll say this about the show: it's 100% produced. It's a production show.
Yeah.
So as Steve mentioned earlier, first season was on location. Second season, probably the same thing. It was on location. And it's 100%.
Well, they went to two places. They went to two places in the second season. The first one was in Kentucky, which was a location that's, from my understanding, was a private property, because I think a lot of these places are on private property just because I think it's a lot cheaper for them by not having to pay with permits and to have more options.
I've shot television on private property as well.
And in Kentucky, using private property is probably safer than just walking off randomly into the woods.
Yeah, because then they came up to Washington State, to the Olympic Peninsula, and did the last part of their investigation there, because the first part of the Kentucky expedition wasn't going, I think, the way that they wanted, and something had to bring them up to Utah, or bring them up to Washington State to finish it up. And it's made for entertainment. It's made for TV. It's good for the casual viewer. The people that are serious about this subject is probably going to turn them off. It's probably going to they're not going to like it. It's going to be like a Finding Bigfoot type show where it's just like LARPing, live action role play.
Yeah. Now I honestly never followed the second season much. The one thing I did hear about, someone was asking me about the DNA that they found, the chimp DNA that they found.
Chimp.
And they're carrying little hormone packets in their pocket that are derived from chimpanzees, and they're spreading that all over the place. And then they find chimp DNA. How could that possially be? It's such a mystery.
Well, here's the thing: is that got headlines, right? That got headlines around the world, and that's what the intent was. They needed, it's free marketing for him. It's like what Todd Standing does to promote himself. He'll do a lawsuit or something just to get his name in the headlines. Because he's got some promotional stuff he's doing with Netflix.
Yeah,
Patrick.
Patrick,
you hit the topic right. The nail on the head with me, Steve. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's just, look, guys and gals, 2021.
No, you're probably about 80% right.
Right. And my analytics will prove you right, Steve. Yeah, it's just a produced show. That's all it is, man. When you're dealing with entertainment companies like that, you're gonna get nothing but production. If you want to find something like even just half-ass interesting related to Bigfoot, like you need to go to the streaming platforms. I'm talking Amazon, Hulu, Netflix, but mostly Amazon because they're the most wide open and accepting to like Bigfoot documentaries. And God, there must be 200 Bigfoot documentaries on Amazon. A lot of them are really good, and I'll say a handful of them are extremely compelling to some degree. So go there, man. Get off the television. I'm getting rid of my cable next week. It's gone.
That's because you don't have any oil. You don't have any gas. You're losing your power. Pretty soon your whole state's going to be shut down, buddy. You're going back to the dark ages. You're going to learn how to live in a tent, like you told us, in your little place there. Make fire out of.
All right. Well,
that's my thing.
Patrick's going to have to teach me how to dress a fish because I have no idea. I'm sure I can catch one, but I don't know how to dress it.
Well, you'd put clothes on it. That would be the problem.
Yeah, a little tuxedo with a tie.
Yeah. Then he would turn and would sing like the singing bass. Okay.
Well, I don't know what you mean by the worst. In my opinion, Todd Standing is bad, but he's by far not the worst. You haven't explored Bigfoot social media enough.
Yeah. That's just, there's a difference between, well, I wouldn't say delusional, but that delusional style of thinking. And that you have shows that are like that, that are online. I don't even want to call them shows, but he's part of shows and he's also online kind of stuff. But, it's kind of like when you watch these guys who do the TV shows and that, they're always so serious when they're talking to you. I can tell that is a Bigfoot. They're right in your face. They have a character change in their tone and their voice. And it's not like you're talking to a real person, And that's your first sign there, obviously. As soon as you turn the TV, it's entertainment. If we ever find it and film it, it won't be on TV in regards to a show like that. It'll hit the news. That'll be the biggest thing right there.
It's like the sham wow guy telling you about Bigfoot.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Do you think you found a Bigfoot? Let me help you find a Bigfoot. This time, this guaranteed, this product right here. I have a beer right here that attracts Sasquatch. It's even called Sasquatch beer. It's
only $19.99.
A fine malt with a chocolate cinnamon taste to it. It's really spectacular.
There's some good stuff on Amazon, and while we're at it, God, what was it called? Sasquatch on Hulu, right? About the pot with the pot grow fields and association to Bigfoot. I thought that was fascinating. Did you guys see that?
Yeah,
I want to.
No, I watched it. Well, the good thing too is, we won't give it a total twist here, but
no spoilers.
No spoilers, but it's not quite what you're going to expect it to be. But it's interesting about how the brain gets primed. Did you notice that, Pat?
Yeah.
Especially when they were trying to track down certain people and stuff like that, and that one guy's name.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Right. I don't want to tell anybody here. So it's kind of funny because it goes one direction and all of a sudden it goes off to a different direction, then a different direction, and then it comes back to the direction you think it might be coming back to. But it leaves it all open-ended. But it produces an interesting way of seeing how the brain works and how we take in information. And the guy who does the research, he's certainly a guy who, he's in the Hells Angels undercover, I think, wasn't he?
Maybe
he's an investigator.
I don't know about undercover. He was a journalist who would infiltrate.
That's right.
But fairly infiltrate, not like cop infiltrate.
Yeah.
But he would sort of fairly get close to situations that were, kind of, on the edge of or breaking
I
the
will be
law.
killed. I will
Yeah.
be killed if I don't do the right next step.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. And that's certainly
And so that's how that whole thing came about, and that was in the early '90s, I believe. 1993 is when he encountered that Sasquatch encounter story that he became so fascinated with that years later he's like, man, I got to look into this.
Right. I want to share a little bit. Sorry, sorry, Patrick. There's a comment here by Ramiel, I think his name is.
Okay.
And it's just, yeah, thank you. And it's the phrase, this last part, he says, not the religious part, but anything is possible. No, not anything is possible. Not everything is possible. That's what science shows us. And it's not anything offensive of what he said, but I hear that all the time, is anything is possible. Watch all these shows we're talking about, including Curse of Oak Island, and you'll always hear these phrases, and they're priming phrases, and they deliberately use them. Is it possible? A gold locket 300 feet down in the ground? Watch Ancient Astronaut Theorists.
Oh my Lord.
80,000-ton obelisk moved from this place? Is it possible? So you hear that, is it possible? The problem with the brain, because you're not your brain picks up data. It opens your part of your brain up to say, well, of course it could be possible. But is it factually possible? No. There's things that aren't.
The other thing you hear so often in that same line of thinking is, I'm only asking the question.
Yeah. So, is it possible for me to step out of a plane and not fall to the earth? No. I will fall to my death, It's a nice idea. Is it possible?
It is possible.
If I'm in a cartoon, or perhaps I'm one of the Marvel superhero people.
That's what. If you have a parachute on your back, it is possible.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
No, you will still hit the ground, but much more gently.
Yes.
Corrected by Stephen very
and
accurately.
Probably land in China.
Physics goes. Yeah.
You don't need a parachute to go skydiving. You need a parachute to go skydiving twice.
True.
Good way to look at it.
Yeah.
All right.
Good question.
Good question. And we'll take more. What you got? What you got,
man? Haven't seen you for a while.
What?
Mind you, I'm banned now from all channels. So.
Yeah, man. Troublemaker.
I know.
Yeah. There's a comment that was coming up here. It's in all caps, almost a page up. Strangeland, a question was asked about the TV show, and I think we honestly gave our serious answers about what we thought of that TV show.
Actually, most of the TV shows, they're entertainment.
Yeah.
And you just take
anything on TV, it's not serious.
Yeah, man. It's television.
It's a business.
Yeah.
It's a business. They got to sell advertising revenue, and they got to have a show on there that's going to bring in viewers. So it's not going to be a great place to give Bigfoot evidence.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I have a background in TV, and so I've been around television production in a very, very huge way, and so I see the Bigfoot stuff for what it is. It's packaged and produced as entertainment in very cliffhanger ways, right? They seem to always leave you hanging, at least through the commercial break, if not the next episode.
The reality.
Yeah, that's what we did in The Walking Dead. We always had cliffhangers, So
yeah, and I want to. I'm sorry. I just want to point to Remy out. There was nothing bad about your comment, and I hope you didn't take it as I took it as a negative. It was just a good opportunity to kind of point that thought out. Talking about what we're talking about here, where we talk about the idea of Sasquatches and stuff like that. If they're actually making money doing documentaries on things they don't even know about, and people are gobbling it up for 10 seasons. Yeah, there's lots of money to be made in Sasquatch. Prove they're real. You're going to make a lot of money out in the bush. In regards to camping, the government makes loads of money. The loggers, whatever, they'll make more money. Trust me. The people are kumbaya. We love nature. You put a Sasquatch out there, they're real. Yeah, at first it'll be Crazyville. Yeah, but they'll eventually regulate it and moderate it. But as soon as we find out that they're out there, lots of money will be coming in.
I just think about Patrick's description of bringing a guy out there with the camera, and when Patrick turned around to say right over there, the guy with the camera is running away.
Yeah. Yeah, well, totally. Or the reverse of that. We have all these people from Europe who come over and they drive in between the Trans-Canada Highway between BC and Alberta, and they see a grizzly or a black bear or even an elk, and they get out and they start taking pictures of these things as if they're like something at a zoo. You don't get out. You don't, and they stop in the middle of the highway, which is another thing that drives the rest of us crazy because you're going to just rear end them, of course. And it's ridiculous that they have no concept. This is what we always yak about too. Is we're not used to being that the bush is wild. It is nature. It has no morals, has no ethics. It just operates.
It doesn't care about you.
Nothing at all. No, it's about all getting my needs met, and I'm not even thinking about it. I'm already in the process of doing it. So, like again, when that tour bus of the Japanese tour bus that was up in Thomas Seawood's area there, or Steenberg's area there up in Harrison Lake, it was a total setup, man. They know nothing about a Sasquatch, and here's a guy in a Sasquatch costume out in the bush. The cameras are just going click, 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 click. You know? It reminds me of me and my best friend. We were driving the Harleys across the mountain as we stopped in, I think it was near Banff or something on the side of the highway, and this Japanese tourist bus showed up, and all the Japanese came out, and my best friend, he's tattooed to the nuts like everywhere, right? And so they saw them, and they came over, and the girls were like, oh, we take you up, you know, like that. And so Dave was going, yeah, sure. You know, so they had all these Japanese tourist girls not taking pictures of them. And then they got away, and they left, and they said thank you. And then Dave says, what was that all about? And I said, why do you think they were taking pictures of you? And he goes, I don't know, because I like tattoos. I said, no, because in Japan, that means you're part of the mob, and a very specific mob. And you don't wear tattoos unless you're associated with those mobs. And he's like from here down, tattooed right down. And he went, oh, that makes me feel
yeah.
You know? And that's again culturally how you perceive things differently. He just thought it was just tourists wanting to Harleys, and this is what a Canadian guy looks like, and that. And they didn't.
3 months later, he mysteriously disappeared.
He's the French Canadian Yakuza.
Yeah.
He's the connection.
The connection, yes, on the connector.
Yeah, he's the connection between the Emerald area of Washington D.C. or Washington State. I think Britt likes to hang around there too.
Okay, Felden has a good question. He says here.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up. I haven't even read it yet.
I just did. I think it's supposed to be quiet.
Well, he's asking, why are you trying to use stealth when they already know you're there?
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Yeah.
Well, you're putting a blanket statement on every situation out there.
Right. Yeah.
You're stating that as if you cannot be quiet and surprise one by chance. You know, you'll have a lot better chance being quiet and having that 1 to 3% chance of surprising one than you would just walk out there kicking bells. You know, you're never going to surprise one then. So I'll take 1 to 3% chance over kicking bells, or you know, and making a lot of noise out there. Also, I'm quiet and I wear camouflage not because of Squatch, it's because of other people. Okay, I don't want other people to see me out there. I don't have to explain why my nose is on the ground and what I'm tracking and where I'm tracking and why I'm tracking there, because then they're going to be curious. They may come look in the areas, and then the guys that I'm tracking that I'm trying to keep quiet about are exposed to another person. And guess what? That can be exposure to a whole lot more people, and people who know there's bounties out there, or think there's bounties out there, or think they can kill one and make $1 million off a body. You know, so I protect them from people.
Yeah, I say the only way that you're gonna get the jump on them is if you're in a fixed position. I say like turkey hunter style kind of camo, right? Which is very elaborate. Can be like those guys get pretty elaborate with their camos, right? If you just get lucky that one comes, you know, strolling near you, you're not going to get the jump on them. That's clear, man. I mean, 50 years, dude. We've been trying. Nope. Nope.
Speaking
Well,
to some guy.
it might even keep them away more because they feel like they're being hunted if we're going out doing that. So
Yeah, push
You know-
them back. Yeah.
yeah,
Now,
exactly. Because you're
watch
like,
the
ooh, what's this
2-minute
person doing?
video I just
Are we-
posted this week. Watch that 2-minute video. When I look at a stream like that, and yeah, that's a big snowmelt flooded stream, but any stream running on a steep hill puts out a lot of noise. And if you've got a squatch there grubbing for insects or some other food source in the stream bed, they hear the same noise we do, and that masks out all of the other noise.
That is
A
correct.
lot of squatch sightings are people coming up on a squatch right next to running water.
That is
Yeah.
correct. I had a guy, he said he was a tracker, and I met up with him a couple of 100 clicks up here. And he wanted to take him up to a place where he thought there was Sasquatches, and there was a huge river gorge that came down the mountain. And he was just walking over there and talking like crazy and that. And I said, stop. And he goes, what? I said, stop. I said, they won't hear us. If they're there, they're not going to hear us because the water sound like that last video you just posted, that short one, Steve. That amount of sound coming is going to be a barrier to them. When I'm in an area like an Echo Lake area, I mean, if I'm on top of the mountain, because it's shaped like this and the lake's on the bottom here, if you're on top of the mountain, you can hear the people in their boats talking as if they're right next to you. That's why it's called Echo Lake.
Right.
If they're up on the ridges, you're not going to hide for them. So how do you handle a situation like that? Well, you camouflage yourself. How do you camouflage yourself? You blend with everything that they would normally see human beings doing, taking pictures, walking around, hiking. That's normal to them visually.
Yeah.
They don't see it as a threat. If you're going in there looking for something, they're going to sense something's off with you. Remember, we talked about that emotional energy discharge. But it's not that, but it's a similar thing, which is they sense the environment. I mean, if you do that task I gave you, Pat, which is go camping in the bush by yourself, keep walking until you feel your system kick in and start giving you the willies. That is when you're starting to go to your primal part of your brain. And that's the part you're training when you're in the willies, because what it does is it teaches you what to be hearing and what not to be hearing. And that's when you get your bush smarts. That's when you get your bush rhythm. You don't get your bush rhythm by thinking, I know what bush rhythm is. You get your bush rhythm by being in the bush and being freaked out. That's when you get bush rhythm. Not that you're freaked out, but you negotiate, navigate, so you learn the rhythm of what's normal to be hearing compared to stuff you're hearing that is not normal, is not consistent, is not specific, what you could recognize. That's why it comes from your primal part to your frontal part and says, there's something different here.
Something going on.
Yeah. So.
And I agree with you. And I will be taking the Leon challenge at some point, and I will document it. So,
and you don't have to go someplace like I did on Wednesday, where you know that a few years ago people claimed to have been chased out of the valley by squatches.
Right.
No, I already have my brain. I already have my.
Yeah, it's the best place.
Yeah. And the other thing too, Pat, when you do the exercise, don't take your camera with you. Do the exercise first. Mark the spot you get to where you stop wanting to walk forward. And don't be surprised if you get mind speak, by the way. Don't go any further, Pat. You literally feel your nervous system act up. And put a marker down with ribbon right there. Okay, then go back to your camp and then narrate the whole story. And as you walk up to the story and say, now this is where far I got. Then push yourself, because you're going to use the camera as comfort, to push yourself a little farther. And that's going to teach your brain that what you perceived at the beginning that made you stop there. Okay, I think I've had this enough. Don't be foolish about it, by the way. Not asking you to push yourself because you need to push it to show Leon that, Leon, I went a mile and a half here in the middle of the bush. I don't want you doing that. Just let your body naturally go through the bush, and you'll feel this part all of a sudden where your primal part, it's like two cultures collapse, the modern world with the nature's world. And you'll feel this collision that happens. Bam! And once that happens, this area of the nature's part is unfamiliar to me. And that's the spooky zone. Your system will start spooking you. Yeah. Patrick.
Well, I call that letting go of your modern self.
Yeah.
Okay, because when you step in the bush, you are part of the food chain. And you have to, what I do is I make my peace with my mortality. Whatever's going to happen to me is going to happen to me out there. I'm going to try to take my way through problems, but there's no guarantees, because you're not in man's subsidized system anymore. So you have to leave your modern man and modern thinking behind and just go in.
It's irrelevant.
Yeah,
It's
go in.
totally unimportant in this new
Yeah.
culture you just walked into.
Yeah.
I'm important. No, you're not.
Yeah, yeah. You're either going to be competition or you're going to be food.
Yeah.
That's basically what you are out there.
Yeah. And
But
a little
also-
insect called a little insect like this doesn't give a shit where you're coming from. He will suck the blood right out of you.
Oh man,
Millions of them.
The worst.
No-see-ums, horseflies. They don't care about
Yeah.
the world and what you do.
Yeah.
You're the most important
Yeah.
person.
Yeah, and I've had, when you start talking about encounters, when you start talking about getting out in the bush and pushing for encounters, my most successful ways of doing that is, okay, they don't want you to know they're there. I truly believe they are aware that you don't know they're there. And so when you start pushing and you start yelling, and a lot of people say, oh, you don't go knock on trees. You know what? I push them and I let them know I know they're there. And once they are certain that you know they're there and they know you're there, that's when they double back on you. And you'll start
Knowing
having
that we know that
encounters
you know
way.
that they know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but you don't
it's-
realize you're dealing with a Sicilian. And you don't realize that I put the poison in your poison as you were looking the other way.
Yeah. Well, it seems that way. It does seem that way. But when they figure out they'll double back on you then. Because then what does your presence mean to their survival? And that is their major concern. It's like when someone walks in your house, what does this mean to me?
Yeah.
Okay, it's the same thing
totally.
for them. You're walking into their house. What does this mean for them? And if you don't know, and they're certain you don't know, they'll just step out of the way and you go walk by, and you can be looking at stuff. You can find maybe their tracks where they were standing, where they took a leak or ate something. You know, you might find these things, but they're not going to let you know they're there unless you cause concern about your presence there. And that means you have to tell them you know they're there.
And that's been part of my experiment last summer, basically, was I'd go out some nights and we'd just be people quietly in a camp. And other nights I'd do whoops out into the dusk at night. On those nights, we had more activity going on in the woods around the camp. Interesting coincidence. Small population of events, not really proof of anything, but interesting experimental results.
Read
And
Miss-
Lockbeard, regarding the camera, I do have specific instructions. Come back and get the GoPro.
Yeah. Leave the GoPro behind. Come back and get it for sure. Mrs. Cryptid is saying a couple comments there that were pretty interesting or good.
Yeah.
Looking or being in the bush for a long period of time. Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for that. And again, that goes back to my Les Stroud theory, though, because before Les Stroud ever did his, Bigfoot series, it clicked in my head, man, Les would be the perfect guy because, I mean, he lived out in the bush at one point with his ex-wife for almost 2 years. And he had an encounter in that experience as well. So I've kind of went down that route in my brain of somebody being entrenched out in the bush. And that's what it would take to get this good empirical evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And I've since come to think, nope, it doesn't matter. You could be a weekend warrior and get just as much luck, in my opinion.
Maybe. I have to take care of the horses for a second here. I'll be back in about 5-10 minutes. Okay.
Go feed them. Feed them some wheat or whatever you feed horses.
Feed them some wheat. I can see you're a real sandwich or something there. Feed them some wheat, everybody. Okay, see you guys in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
The real problem would be the oats. That'll get them all riled up. It's like,
I love horses.
like giving sugar to kids.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, again, like the idea of somebody being out there and entrenched and like they've got all their gear, and I'm like, man, it's hard to just exist out in the woods. You know, and you're gonna try and be a photographer, capture Bigfoot person at the same time. Good luck. You may never see one. You may be in the wrong spot. They might be 100 miles away from you. Like, there's so many factors that go into being entrenched out in the woods. Again, you're just gonna get lucky or not, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the tactic I like and that I'm generally going to employ with the research that we do when we do go out is partly based on Patrick's go back to the same place, always go back to the same place and do the same things. Call attention in their language, do the whoops, do the knocks, let them know you're there, and then do things to try to draw them in and try to leverage their curiosity.
There you go, Steve. Not true. There's people. I'm not sure what he's referring to that you said.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure specific either, but I've seen that same thing from Raptor Crazy. I agree completely. But here's the thing from my point of view. I want to understand the phenomena that are going on out there. And why is it that the nights seem to change when you do that call into the dusk and when you don't? And frankly, if it's not a large hairy hominid, what the heck is it? That's even more interesting to me. What is it that's leaving the tracks?
Not me. I'm done. It better be a hominid. Or I'm done. Like, I don't chase ghosts, man. And you shouldn't either.
So, Pat, you said you're going to do a Bigfoot expedition out into the woods?
No. That is not what I said.
What was the challenge?
So the challenge is actually much more simple than that. It's to go solo. Because Leon picked up on me one night. I don't know if it was on air or if we were off air. I don't know. But Leon picked up on me saying, I'm not going solo. I'm not going solo. I must have said it 3 times, you know. And so he picked up on that and decided to do Leon stuff, you know. And he's like, you should go solo. In fact, you should go solo and you should go marching down the road in the darkness all by yourself and push yourself, basically. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. I'm not. He just summed it up, actually, you know, a few minutes ago.
That was very accurate. Push yourself as far out into the woods as your brain can stand.
Yeah, before weird things start happening and the cortexes touch each other or whatever fancy talk he was saying.
Yeah, and then drop the flag and run back to camp.
Right.
Dude, I'm going to tell you, I've been around a fire at camp and had my spidey senses tingle at camp. Okay, I just have to turn that off and go into a mode, you know, go into a task mode. Okay, I have to perform this task and I have to perform this task, and if I want to achieve this goal, these tasks have to be performed. That's what I have to go to be able to do. If I just left it to me and how I feel, I'd still be at the fire drinking beer and then crawling in my tent.
Yeah. Patrick, you do it too differently too. Is you don't just shut it off. It's just that you compartmentalize it. That's what you do. That's differently.
Yeah.
We're not asking to shut off because you're trying to figure out what is of me and what is of the environment. And so when you realize how your body works and your brain works and your feelings work and your nervous system works, you can learn to control it, just like any professional who deals with a military person, front case worker, emergency surgeon. You have to learn to compartmentalize it to get the shot or get the job done that you're trying to do. It's not fun. It's not easy. But when you get the training, it goes to the training instead of the fear of what.
But I like easy, Leon.
But everyone likes easy. We like slow thinking. We don't like. You mean I have to check? Like, wait till after I put this video out on all the videos that these are not Sasquatch. How many times do you think people can say, "Well, how do you know?" They've been all vetted by multiple sources. You can find the information out yourself. and it's not that hard. And I'll put the person's name, check it out. But people won't even do that. Just like that guy who had over 10,000 hits on his videos, where he has to reach out to me and say, will you please tell people this is not a Sasquatch? As he does a paragraph in the description explaining it's not a Sasquatch. It's the guy that's got a mosquito hoodie on and a mosquito jacket on, walking through the tree, like through this kind of marsh area. Oh, that makes total sense. No, not if I have these Sasquatch glasses. You know how love is blind? You put your love blind glasses on, you put your Sasquatch glasses on, Sasquatch stump, Sasquatch cloud, Sasquatch.
They're everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah, totally, Brent. Totally.
So, yeah, I mean, my thing is this, Leon, is that I think why I don't want to be solo out there and dealing with them is because I don't. In my mind, I don't want to ever put myself in a position where it's 1v1, where it's Pat versus a Sasquatch.
Well,
I just don't ever want to be in that position. So if I don't ever put myself in that position, therefore, I'll never be in that position. Is that
but every time you go into the bush, it could be 1-to-1, 1-to-1 cougar, 1-to-1 bear, 1-to-1 rutting deer, 1-to-1 rutting moose, 1 rutting elk. It can always be 1-to-1. But I'll guarantee you'll probably get your better sleep sleeping in the bush than you probably do in your own bed if you're out there enough. Because there's less out there that's going to harm you, and more predictably, you can usually predict what they're going to do than it is when you're dealing with man. Go ahead.
Well, the thing is don't go out there looking for Bigfoot. Just go out there enjoying. But you should go out and you should go out to nature. Is like the forest like a no-go, or is
no? I don't go looking.
Is Bigfoot keeping you out of the forest? Like
I know they're out there. Yeah, it's keeping me out there as a solo. Since I've become completely aware of their presence, potentially, I had a extremely disturbing wood knock encounter, and I know that doesn't sound scary. It scared the fuck out of me, dude. It scared the fuck out of me.
Because it was you weren't predicting it, or because you knew it was something
I couldn't believe it was happening. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this is actually happening. That this is happening near my safe campsite. I call it a Camp Apache because it's like Fort Apache. It's the safest place in the world. No one can touch me there. Not my enemies. Not my terrorists can't freaking come there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no bad guys could come there. And wood knocks. It just freaked me out. I had a bad experience. Go ahead, Patrick. I know you got something to say about this.
From someone that studied wood knocks solely for many, many years until one walked into the fire doing the wood knocks. I actually went from a wood knock to a hand slap on a tree and then stepped into the firelight. I can tell you what's out there doing wood knocks.
Well, hey, real quick about that. Was there a difference between the hand slap and the actual wood knock as far as the sound of the knock itself?
Yeah, the sound of the wood knock, it at a mile out, it sounded like it was a home run off a wood bat. And now the wood knock is not just a way of communication; it is a conversation. And as it gets closer, it actually goes to a more subtle knock. It's just a knock. It's just like taking 2 pieces of 1-inch seasoned wood, round wood, and knocking them, or 2 Louisville sluggers just knocking them. Loud at a sound, what it sounds like at a mile, but at a mile that loud sounds is just a click. But as it comes around and it gets louder and you get more audible, it actually goes subtle. And then when she got 40 yards out, you could hear the hand, and I know people said, well, you don't know if it's her hand. Well, I'm pretty sure she didn't pucker her mouth and slap her face on a tree. It sounded like a hand, and you could hear the bark fall off the tree that she slapped. Pow! And then the bark trickled down the side of the tree and land in the leaves at the base of the tree. And then she steps out into the firelight. And so whenever Pat goes to talking about this potential knock phenomenon that he encountered in his camp. I just keep thinking, boy, something really wanted your attention. I wish you'd have walked out there to it. You could have had a really interesting face-to-face 1v1v.
Dude, it was the last thought on my mind. And I've said this before, probably on air, I don't know, but I'll say it again. I had a freaking machine gun with me, and I had a million candle watt spotlight.
And you didn't use them?
And I got out of that tent, and I did not take either one of those things with me to this day.
What did you take with you?
Just me. Just me. It was very
I know what you did.
primal.
I know what you did, so I'm asking what you took with you.
I know what you're getting at, and I might say that. But I got out of that tent without my gun and my spotlight, and some weird stuff happened. And then I got back in my tent, and I had zero interest of what was out there. Which, dude, for me, like you would think you would think it'd be the opposite. Like, I mean, I'm like, I should be curious. I should be taking the spotlight and the gun just in case, you know. And I didn't do it, man. And I don't know that I ever would. And that's why I tell people they're crazy for chasing these things down, because I had that experience, you know. Which, I mean, yeah, granted, it was a wood knock experience. People could poo-poo on that real easy. Maybe not in the Bigfoot world so much. They would kind of probably be interested in it, but it was one of the strangest days of my life.
Well, are you going to recreate that on your solo?
No, I will never, ever knock. I'll never do a knock to try and bring them in. I'll never do that. Never, ever. There's zero reason for me to do that. Zero.
Let me know where you're going to be at.
Right.
Go camping with them.
You guys are mean.
I'll either be at Raven Cliffs or private land down below in the valley.
Well, I mean, I could go do a single knock, an invitation knock, and then leave. Go to McDonald's.
Well, if you did a beer opening, he'd come running.
And Jack Links.
There's a welcoming. Mind you, if he did a beer open can walk, I'd probably be running that way too. That must be beer. We can be scared the hell out of each other with each other. So, I mean, part of the idea that this is an exercise I actually use when I'm with my clients is you want to face yourself. That's the problem with our whole society and culture. We keep doing our lives to avoid actually being who we are. And that exercise is a way of finding out, who am I? Well, you'll find out if you do any of that exercise that you're a scared little kid inside an older body. That's what you are. But you don't have to stay there. And the only reason is because you lost the sense a long time ago that you actually had the capacity to surprise yourself about what you can actually do with, what you can learn and what you can actually do with yourself. So, and I mean, there's a practical reason I'm asking you to do this, not just to look for a Sasquatch, but at one point, life will give you its invoice and say, this is the life you signed up for. Everyone in chat right now, think about this question. Is this the frickin' life you signed up for? Most people will say, no. Well, then you're not living what you're supposed to be living. So
I agree. I mean, I agree. It's not healthy to live your life in fear of anything other than what's obviously something to be fearful of.
That's right.
Don't stand in front of a moving train, but
why not?
But that's why I've accepted your challenge and I will carry it out. Is just for the reasons you laid out. Yeah. If you have a fear of spiders, the best thing you do is just take a tarantula and put it on your arm and deal with it. Nothing's gonna happen.
Sasquatch is gonna be heavier though.
I'll be waiting for you.
Yeah.
Iron Dodger, you did really well on Bigfoot Odyssey the other night, so don't you worry about that. Don't be nervous. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I was
Dogger on you.
Iron Dogger's in here. Hello, Iron Dogger. I hope you're feeling well.
Yeah. Cool lady.
Yeah, she
man.
does that 2,000-mile race on the Iron Dogs, the snowmobiles.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good stuff.
I saw her comment about Karen's up there. Yeah, if you do that, have a body cam on because that'll go viral on YouTube.
Yep. Like the crazy thing is this idea, if you get the good shit, you put it on YouTube. If it's good shit, it's going to fly. That's why they fly. That's why videos take off. If it's garbage stuff, well, it'll fly sometimes till people put their eyes on it. Like that one, I can't remember, I think it was you, Steve, in one of your videos, when it says, if you're not going to analyze it to death, others will. That's my kind of paraphrasing what you're saying, and you're absolutely right. I mean,
Yeah, that's rule 4 in Carl Sagan's version of the baloney detection kit.
Yeah, because I mean, you can't make declarations without. If you make declarations, and people are curious, and when people are curious, they're going to check out why that is curious to them, and then they're going to find out what it is, and they're going to come back and ask you questions. And like, if you can't handle the questions, I mean, Patrick, you're one of the few people that he's got the list out there again. Are you surrendering? Maybe you're surrendering.
I'm not surrendering. I'm not surrendering. Never, ever give up. Never, ever.
So, I mean, the idea that you can sit under listening, like me questioning for 3 hours and record that, and you're not showing me any kind of, trying to be important or here you're online and look what I can say and I know this and you don't know that. You're saying certain things with certainty, which most people could interpret you as being, well, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about because he's overconfident. Well, I'm overconfident. People get that all the time from people, like, well, this guy knows everything. I don't know everything. You think I know what it feels like to carry a baby for 9 months and have a delivery of it? Not a chance. We are moron, us men. Or women have us ugly guys.
Yeah, Leon. Everybody accuses you of knowing everything.
Yeah, I know, and I know nothing. That's what I know. I know. The more I know, the more.
Can you tell me about the internal flight structure systems of the thrust vectoring of the F-22?
Yeah, actually, I can mention a little bit about that. As a pilot, if your plane is crashing, you're hoping it's not that.
What about you, Steve? Can you tell me about the internal structuring, inner workings of the thrust vectoring of the F-22?
Not particularly. The work I did on that aircraft, and I did work on that aircraft, was fault monitoring. If you watched Airwolf, they had the little panels with the lights that would come on with the alarms, and you push the button
Love
and
that
the alarm
show.
goes off.
Yes, warning.
Yeah. Those are
That
real.
was you.
That's what I worked on.
So we're all kind of all right in our own angle. So I'm a pilot. I see the flashy lights going. That's what Steve did. You know what's happening, Dad. So we're all right to certain levels. And that's why we do the panel, is to learn from each other and listen to people in chat. And they teach us things and we teach them things. We don't draw this conclusion that we're the enemy. And I have every right to ask anybody a question as soon as you make a statement. I don't know why that's such a big issue for people. Well,
especially in public. Especially in public
it's so
release.
offensive. Well, ask me offensive questions. I'm not going to cringe from that. I'm here to learn. What? It's mindless.
Part of my confidence comes from using a control and deriving hypothesis and theories and all that and debunking everything in my own experience. Now, my own experience may be this big. There may have been 3 or 4 people that have experienced my experiences. And if you put them all together, they'll say, oh, yeah. And I know no one else experienced that or has any kind of insight on that. But I speak of it because this is the experience and what I can say in my particular area. But and that's not defensive. That's just being clear. That's just clarification for anybody in the chat.
Yeah, that'd be pretty freaked out there, Flat Rock, for sure.
Patrick, the knock I heard that put fear of God in me sounded like tree on tree, no bats, no sticks, and they can be that loud. I mean, I have one on audio, on video, that loud. 3 knock, 6 knock, 3 knock. And yeah, it can be terrifying. There actually, in one of the comments on long while back on the podcast, I was talking about single knock the previous video, and in the following video, this guy said, "Yeah, I took single knock out, did it one time, and the damn thing almost beat me back to my truck. I'm never doing it again." Okay, so he took it out, had an experience, and got out of there scared to death. So, and talking about production shows that have been produced, I got that theory off because a guy accidentally got a knock response on a produced show, and then he went to a 2 knock and a 3 knock and a 4 knock and a 5 knock, and he stepped all over it. He only got 1 knock, and that was it. Okay, and that's what led me to. So a produced show gave me an idea to derive a hypothesis from and a theory from for the entire single knock and advanced knock system I use in my research. So there is some value there. You just have to, really, really go through it all.
Well, I have an area that I went to, and again, it's the Echo Lake area, and there's lots of reports that come into that area. And every time I stopped my vehicle, got out of the vehicle, one would knock. And I was filming some loons, and I heard a knock. And then I didn't notice it at first. And then I drove down the road up to a different part of the lake. Got out. There's actually, I don't think hardly anybody at the lake. And again, as soon as I got out, I heard again. And then I turned to the camera. I said, "That's twice I've heard. It sounds like a wood knock." And I drove across onto the other side of the lake, got to the top, and stopped to do a nature break, and heard the same one knock, not a lot of knocks. Same sound though on the other sides of the other parts of the lake, just one knock. And I literally thought, you see me sitting in the car like this going, there's something up. I don't know what it is. I'm not saying it's Sasquatch. I said, but 3 times I've pulled over, got out of the vehicle, 1 knock. Mm-hmm. And then you can see them thinking and figuring out. I said, I've just put tree on tree, knock, rock on tree, knock, rock on rock, knock. And I don't know. And I didn't know. But I keep that filed over to my side here, because like Patrick, we're our own skeptics, right? Like I would take what you say, but I would do the same thing with what I've already had in the Echo Lake area, which is it's a reference point that's over here for right now. Because go ahead, Fran. You haven't shared mine.
That's interesting because I've had the same experience where you get out of the car. It was at one single location that I would go back to multiple times. Same thing, just a single wood knock. That was it, and that was it for the entire time. I mean, it was, I went back to that area because of all this other stuff that we were experiencing. But I had that same experience, and that's when I took a group of people back there, and we wood knocked with something back and forth. And so it's interesting you had that experience too. I didn't know that.
The areas weren't close to each other. They're a few miles away from each other. That was the other interesting thing.
Yeah,
they weren't like just off the road kind of thing. They were like, one was at one where the avalanche area is on Echo Lake, and then another one was farther. I gotta get my brain straight here. Farther east or west, sorry. And then being on the other side of the lake, the same thing happening. I just thought, so I just chalk it up into, this is part of the data you collect when you're in the area for the Echo Lake area for us. Okay, Patrick, you're biting, buddy. Come on.
Okay. Well, as far as unsolicited knocks, those are kind of rare for me, but they do happen. And there was an area that I was tracking for 2 ladies that were doing an experiment. And after about our 3rd trip in there, we pull in there, and right across the creek will be a knock, and they did that 2 or 3 times every time that we went in there. And then it eventually turned into a whoop across the creek and up the creek just the way we'd pull up. Within 30 seconds, there's a whoop, Now, disregarding the whoop, okay, and this is the question I had when I was researching knock.
Yeah.
Can I sit there? can I sit there and hear another knock in another 5 minutes or another hour? Or is it just happening when I pull up? What's the chances of that being a coincidence? Also, what out there has opposable thumb to grip something and knock? Okay, if you can answer that question, the answer is in that question.
Yeah.
If you can just wrap your skeptical mind around it.
But Iron Dogger says, how many people would you guess are doing wood knocks to one another and not realizing it? And I know there's stories out there of those kinds of things happening, actually, with groups, Bigfoot groups in the same area that attracted each other.
And that's a good reason for them never to communicate with each other, because it'll stay a mystery that way.
It's certainly hilarious when you hear about stories of people doing Bigfoot sounds, whether it be wood knocks or otherwise, and they attracted each other to the point where they realized, oh, hey, you're out here.
Hey, if you knock long enough, I'm going to find you, because I'm coming to you.
That's right.
If you just, I'm coming to you, and it's going to be embarrassing. If I see you, most chance time, you're not going to see me. I'm just going to turn around and leave. I might do a double knock as I leave and leave.
I'll be crying like a little schoolgirl myself.
Hey, I was
sorry for me that's masculine male is running through the bush like a little girl. That they'll leave. Oh my God, poor human. Do you see that, you guys? Poor little sissy. Another thought. Sorry, Patrick.
Go ahead.
Another thought, Iron, is, I'm from Canada. I think you've been up in Alaska quite a bit too. Is we don't have the population explosion that you guys have in the States. Remember, we are 10% of your population. We're in the I think the second largest country in the world.
Yeah.
And so the idea that if I'm in and again, people say, oh yeah, we're out in the bush. No one's ever been here before. Everybody, when I traveled North America for 4 months there a couple of years ago, or 6 months, everyone kept saying this on their videos. No one's ever been here before that. So you go to these locations, there's a road there, right? And there's a campsite there, and no one's ever been there before. So I'm starting to wonder
what road just magically appeared 50 years ago.
Yeah. So it's like no one's ever been there before. Actually, definition for that is anybody who's 100 yards from a campground. that's nobody that is here before. Whereas here, as soon as I go up to the mountain up top here, which is only 10 minutes up, I have no cell phone. I am cut off from the bloody world. And that's for thousands of kilometers,
Yeah.
I can drive, and it's all thick forest mounted areas. And the farther I go up this direction heading east here, the higher the mountains get and the more rugged the ground is. So it's brutal, because I wish some of the spots when I did travel, I thought, man, I wish I was doing this area because it's flatter, I guess, instead of having to mountain goat. And I'm 57 and I'm fat and I don't have the capacity that Ross Skills Bushcraft does, like Nick or Justin from Mountain Beast Mysteries, or Alex from Out of the Shadows, or Brent even here. He's out there doing this stuff in Washington State, which is just south of British Columbia from where I live. And but I don't have the capacity to do that anymore, but he does. But to me, the only advantage we do have in our area is that, except for this year, which is terrifying us right now in regards to the fires that we could have this summer, because we've had 2 slight days of rain so far, and that's in 3 months. And that means anything thrown out is going to light the whole frickin' valley up. And you guys know, Steve, you and Brent know exactly what I'm talking about. A couple of years ago, we were breathing your smoke up here. That's how
most of our state burned down.
Yeah, it was terrible. So, but I don't think, for me, when I hear wood knocks too, especially if I'm in an area where other Sasquatchers might be, yeah, totally. It's like, sometimes they won't know unless they recognize me, of course, because I have a channel. But sometimes I act like not just finding them, just to hang out with them, to see what kind of thinking processes do, and do kind of a study on them of how they do their area and stuff.
I like to go far away from everyone, get as remote as possible, to the point where human contamination isn't as much of a factor. For me, that's my go-to thing.
Yeah.
Well-
Well, I can address this question personally about wood knocks, howls, stuff falling. How do you know if you're not being pranked? Only if I'm being pranked by Navy SEALs. So I'm pretty sure there's not a squad of Navy SEALs out to try and prank me on a random weekend camping in the mountains.
I would say it's less pranking, but more of misidentification. How
Not where I'm
how,
at. Not where I'm at,
Yeah.
dude. We have all this happened on private land that is well
All right, now, damn
secured.
it.
I'm sorry.
All right, I want Patrick, and then I have an answer too.
All right, go ahead, Patrick.
I have a systematic way of discerning what is there. Okay, if I'm getting knocked at and I'm knocking back and I give it some time to get out of the area, I click my light on if it's dark and I go out tracking and I track and I keep tracking until I find the track and a clear print of what's there. And so I don't have to leave and go home and scratch my head and wonder what happened. I know it was there. I know it was interacting with me. I know the direction it went, and I tracked it as far as I could, or as far as I felt comfortable in the dark doing it. Because I don't just take off in the dark more than about half a mile or so. Start getting that far. I start getting that far.
Dude, I won't go 100 yards past camp in the dark. Like, geez.
Well, I mean, I'm used to being out in darkness and under primitive survival conditions. I mean, in starlight, moonlight, I'm used to that, and I'm pretty comfortable. When I start getting way back there further than I can scream and anybody hears me, that gets a little uncomfortable. So that's when I turn around.
It does.
And when I'm out, I go exploring up and down the road at least half a mile or so to see if anyone's even camped in the area or any cars or bikes or anything out there.
Yeah, I've gone through the area. And, don't underestimate driving down mountain roads, especially looking at the sides of the hillside, because they're natural gridding of an area that you're trying to figure out if they're coming through. And a lot of times, at least for me, you'll see their tracks in the side of the berm on the side of the road. And it's usually sand, so it's easier to, and you'll know it when you see it. You'll first of all, catch it. But I'll drive hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, well, probably close to thousands of miles in a season, but I'll be driving 5 to 10 kilometers an hour. And I'll drive in, and when I come back out, I'll drive out because the sun will be hitting the same area I was in, which will give me shadowing that I might not have seen the first time when I came in. That is patience. Who wants to do that? Well, there's other things I'm doing at the same time that's happening is I'm listening to all the audio I've recorded over the last week. So my brain's actually thinking about stuff and looking at stuff at the same time to see if there's anything I need to make sure I stop on the cues in regards to the audio that I picked up and checking out at the same time. Go ahead, Patrick.
So your brain is primed then already.
What's that?
Your brain is primed then already.
Well, the key part is not knowing that you're looking for a subject doesn't mean that.
I know. I'm picking.
Okay, all right, you're joking.
I'm picking. I'm joking.
It's like if you're a SWAT team, of course you're prone and primed to catch the person you're looking for, but it doesn't mean you turn around and shoot the next door neighbor with her little kid.
You don't?
Sorry, I was primed. Big mistake on my part.
Hey, Halloween was a massacre, man. I'm telling you. I thought those zombies were real.
They're not.
Quit burying them in the backyard, Leon.
Oh, yeah. So, what do you guys think? Like Pat or Gary, he was talking about that he heard one say his name. How could that be possible? What are your thoughts on that?
That's just Gary, man. Like
I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just thinking, what's your thoughts on what might be happening there for him?
Gary has a lot of interesting anecdotal stories that involve, a lot of interesting different kind of phenomena other than primate, undiscovered primate, let's say. That's kind of Gary's experiences. That's his opinion. So it's hard to opine on that from my position. where he's kind of talking about things that I don't understand.
And you've already said if you run into paranormal, a lot of what he's talking about is paranormal stuff. If you run into paranormal, you're out the door. You're done with it.
Yeah, I'm not going to chase ghosts. I'm not going to do it. I don't invite ghosts into my life or anything like that.
Me neither.
So.
Negative.
Yep. So yeah, Gary seems to lean in that direction.
It's just a question. Nothing against. Just a question. I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on that. So I know that everyone eventually hears their own name called as the mind speak. You'll hear your name periodically be called in your lifetime. That's normal, by the way. So
right, at least once. You're saying
more than once.
More than once.
Yeah, a lot of people wake up hearing their names being called.
Yeah.
I am so glad that doesn't happen to me.
Yeah, same here.
Not yet. Not till I find your address, Patrick, and come and put a speakerphone under your pillow like a tooth fairy at night.
Oh, dude,
Hey,
I can say this, man. Like the weirdest shit that's ever happened to me in my life had nothing to do with Bigfoot.
Hey, True story. We used to have a phone, a cordless phone that was in the hallway. And the kids, the bedroom and my bedroom, they're down the hall right there. And I would take the phone and I would turn the speaker on and go outside and go, "Get out of the house!" Those kids almost knocked the bedroom doors down, man. They come barreling through the house. They're out the door. "Dad, did you hear that?" And the little one's going, "Damn it!" I'm like, "Boy, you're 4 years old. Shut your mouth."
It's like what's that song there? They ran through the rocks and they ran through the meadow and they ran through the guys couldn't go. They ran so fast the hounds couldn't catch them down the Mississippi to the Gulf of Mexico. Left, right,
Oh
left.
yeah.
You younger folk won't understand that song.
And
Well, in
natives lost their
1814 took a
mind.
little trip down to Colonel Jackson, mighty Mississippi.
Wasn't that the year without a summer? I believe
What's
it was.
that?
The year without a summer. I believe it was.
Maybe. I'm Canadian. I mean, I just like the music, so I just pick up some of the songs.
Yeah, there's no such thing as summer in Canada.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
It's 30 degrees Celsius, which is 90 on Sunday. 90 degrees Fahrenheit on Sunday.
What?
Yes.
Where you're at?
Yeah, I'm in paradise. This is paradise in Canada. It's the warmest part of the province or the country.
Okay.
We have vineyards growing out here with wine vineyards. It's very, very European. Unlike Washington State, that's just trees and Sasquatch.
So sophisticated with your fucking video cameras everywhere.
Complicated, yeah.
Yeah.
And Mrs. CC, we do have underbrush, but we have older forests here, so a lot of it is the willowy areas and stuff like that will be on decommissioned roads or side of roadways. So then we have, as soon as you get past on the other side, it's great camouflage for them because they can be on the other sides, old timber, nice open area, but you can't see them because the willows are 8 to 10 feet tall and they're just packed right in. So they can walk right along the creek on the other side and you can't even see that they're walking through there, which I did a video of with Nick doing that. I thought, where did he go? I was filming him and I couldn't even see where he went.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's good.
Well, I'm going to be running some experiments here in about a week and a half.
ooh.
In South Arkansas, and I am excited. I'm
That's the
hoping I
bucket
get.
experiment.
What's that,
Yeah,
Steve?
It's the 2 pails experiment.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm gonna run it, and because I keep failing at that experiment, and I did get one, and I'm not gonna say it is one, but it looks like there's, an eye in my camera, but I've kept failing with that experiment, and so I'm trying to nail down, where the failures are, and I'm hoping completely concealing it, and we'll do it. That's what I'm hoping.
So, Patrick, are you using a trail cam at all?
Yeah, what
Do you have
I've
a
been
couple
doing
of
is,
them?
yeah, I'm actually picking up 2 more because I disabled the IR on 2 of my trail cams, and I was setting up because I'm a firm believer they see IR. That's just what I've subscribed to, And so but I do know they would come in from an experiment I did in Mississippi. They did come in on a small light source, and so I was experimenting with how dark will they come in, and what brightness light source other than IR will they come in on with the camera sitting there. But they kept finding my damn camera, and I actually have on Patrick Vaughn in one of my folders. There's something looking in my camera, and I'm not going to call it what it is. There's something looking in my camera at an experiment. I mean, it didn't even go around the bait that I had out there. It just picked out my camera. So this time I'm completely concealing the camera face up. I'm using an IR camera, a passive IR camera that's face up with a sound source under it with two pails covering it. So if anything walks up and knocks that top, all it can do is say cheese. They can't see what's there, and I'm going to scent kill everything in it, on it, around it, and my boots. And I'm going to try to be the only person that goes in to set the experiment up, because I do know they track you, they scent you where you go and what you touch and where as you're setting the experiment up, I found them track me doing that. So
well, you should use that against them. I think like I like scent. I leave my scent. Because it gives them a familiarity that I'm in the area, but also makes them curious about what I'm doing, so they follow my scent. The other question I have for you is, when you set this area up, are you setting it up? Let me break it down a bit for you. So say, because you're going to be putting it in something, right? The pail. Do the setup first without anything. When you also do the setup with the pails, so it's familiar to them, right? Above you, probably 20 feet if you can, in which you do is you get a big long stick with a wide top on it and put a camera on top of that, but up here and up here, so it's angling down 20 feet up. But put the stick up first. Don't put the camera on the stick. Leave it up there for a month. Put a blob of something in the middle of where that stick is, so they're used to a blob of being up there. Remember, if they're noticing anything, they're going to look at it this way, and their brain's going to register, oh, that's familiar to me.
Yeah.
And see, that's what sucks about this stuff, and people just don't get this. You have to do it over a long process, and then you have to go back and see if I was trying to find or discover this. Like you said, if I come into a house and all of a sudden, like for instance, I cleaned up this area over here, I just put a fence in, and it was brutally hot or whatever. It's irrelevant, but I cleaned up this whole area, and I thought I took care of all the wasps, and then this morning I went there, and this container that was there, it's totally loaded with wasps. I couldn't get out my kitchen door here at all day today. And so what's this have to do with what you're talking about, Leon? I don't know, because I'm tired, so just back off, okay? But what I'm trying to say is set up the area as if you're doing something, but you're not going to do it yet. So they're really familiar that it's chronically there. It's always there. It seems to be there, just like it should be there. Wasn't there before, but I noticed it's there. It's harmless because now I've investigated it. They won't necessarily investigate it again. Or they might a few times, but that's that trial period for 2 weeks or a month, say. And then put your stuff up and then see what happens on that. You can still put a camera up if you want, but don't put it on the location of what you're doing. Yeah. Look, Patrick, I can't tell you what to do, man. You have lots of experience in the bush. So it's just the problem is the process is 10 times harder than what people at home think it is. It's like, no offense, ladies, okay? Yeah. In construction, and I had a construction company, a wife would say, well, can't we just take this wall down? Well, yeah, we can take this wall down, but then we have to run your ducts for your furnace and your electrical and your plumbing. It's going to cost you $10,000 more than what you're thinking it is. Well, it should only take a day to take that down. Yes, it will only take us a day to take it down, but it's going to cost a lot of money and a lot more than a day to put it all back because you have to refigure everything. Eh? And so the perception of what people are at home thinking, well, why don't you just pull out your camera? I don't know if I'll pull out my camera. I'll be too much shock and awe in a way, but I'll work through that. But at least I know they're in the area. So that then I also know that they got to be in an area within a section of an area. And then I'll coordinate that whole bloody section of the area. And it's probably going to be a few kilometers, not going to be, a little bit. It's going to be 10 kilometers square probably. And then do that. And then I have to hold that information to the next season when it comes around, see if they come in the same time. And then the same time, and this is over, 5 years I've been doing research in our area here to find out that there's a pathway where they're negotiating from and stuff. And it just takes way too much time to do. People just don't get that. They just think you're going to get a camera, go out there for the weekend, and go within a campsite and stay 100 yards within the campsite and think that, oh, this is going to happen. It might. If you can just relax and no one else is in the campground and just be yourself camping, but have all your gear set up. That's why I love Steve's technology that he's coming up with, because I think it's going to make a hell of a big difference out there, at least for how I think and what I would use it for. So,
well, it's been my experience that they pick out technology, and I've had them walk right up to a recorder and tap on the mic, and then walk away. But I cannot make them come into a camera, and I do not know why. That's why I'm covering it up, scent killing it. That way, it's just a package. And if there's something in there curious to it, if it's curious enough, it'll walk up and knock the top off. If it does that, all I can do is say cheese. It's like my last. This is probably not my last, but this is like my latest revision of this experiment.
Well, it's 3 hours, gentlemen.
Yeah, it is. We should probably wrap it up.
I'd say we should. I could keep talking, but I know it's 3 hours. So
I gotta be up at 4 in the morning.
Iron Dogger, you should invite her in after we're offline. What do you think about that, Iron? You want to come over? You want to come and visit the boys over in the show after?
They're safe enough.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I could do. I have no direct link to her, but
fine.
I mean, if you guys do,
I don't.
You have the link. Whoever does has the link. Hold on.
Oh, she says another time. That's okay.
Yeah. And yeah, sure.
I mean, we're talking from like it's 9:05 our time PM in the West Coast. So Steve and Brent and I are kind of like, but again, it's we've been online. Well, I've been online for an hour and a half. So,
yeah, I guess I'll wrap it up, and unless there's some revelation we need to talk about that happened in the past hour or so.
What about Richter? What about Richter's show? We haven't talked about him. He's doing that whole Steve Shepagabel guy.
Dude, that fell flat on its face. He has 3,000 plus subscribers, and his show on Steve, Estelle, last time I checked, 526 views.
Was that the first show or the second show?
The first one.
Okay.
So the second one probably even flatter. Like,
well, I don't know about that. The thing is, again, it goes back to that whole idea: is these people doing allegiance to people. One of the videos I was going to incorporate with the video I'm working on, I'll probably leave it for the next one, which is I'm going to put all the videos that he has on his show, on his channel, that he claims these are Sasquatch. And none of them are Sasquatch.
I mean, there's a way to approach Estelle, but yeah, I'm sorry, dude. Richter completely failed in trying to ridicule him or satire him. Huh?
You're so bitter.
No, I'm being honest. Dude, I love Richter. He's brilliant.
Yeah, well, again, he's going against a pretty strong force there, and Richter is kind of raw, so that's a point against him because he is raw sometimes. And if he limits some of his rawness that he does in regards to his presentations, he'd probably get a lot farther down the road than what he does. So I get where he's coming from, though. He just feels like this is we're in a nut show and we're all part of the characters. So
yeah,
I wonder that is frustrating. Like even Steve, Culls. I mean, next Sunday night, Steve and I will be on his kind of show. I mean, it must be madness for these guys who've been hearing it over and over and over again. And no one seems to care. No one even wants to care, and no one seems to be listening. They would rather hear the story and get stimulated with endorphin shots in their brain of all these neat ideas. And then we help shift their insides out to look. There's a whole bunch of other great stuff out here, and there's entertainment, and then there's guys who are just bullshitting you. Once they get into the good stuff, they'll realize there's no use following these other guys because it's just bullshit. And they'll see it the same way we see it. But that's part of our goal has been as channels, because we're all different channels here, is to get online and get that voice out there more. So there's more of us than you think that are out there that are doing this shift right now, because you can't stay playing in the playground or in the sandbox. It just gets too boring. Once you agree. The toys are dull here in the sandbox. I can only scoop so much sand and put it in a pail, turn over, and there's a castle. It's not a castle. What are you talking about? That's a castle that's made from a pail from the beach with your paddle. That's what that is. That is not a castle. Well, how if I make it look like a castle? You made it look like a castle, but it's not a castle. I'm sorry. So give us some meat potatoes.
Someone told me recently, privately, someone I trust and someone I know, they know what the fuck they're doing, told me recently, they just pretty much said to me, and they're like, 99.9% of the people you should be trying to reach are outside the Bigfoot world, not in it.
Yeah, that's why I do beginners. I'm looking to get the beginners before they get sidetracked and all this other garbage stuff.
Yeah. So, and when he said that to me, it made a light bulb go off over my head. And he said it, very honestly, very openly about a certain situation that came up recently. And that's what finally got to me and goes, you know what? You're right. That's the reason why I was wrong, to go down that road. And so that's kind of where I'm at. But everyone's welcome. Again, I'm an open book here. Everyone's welcome. Welcome, people inside the Bigfoot world, outside the Bigfoot world. We had somebody come in from outside the Bigfoot world tonight and engage us in chat. Sent me 2 emails here on my phone while we were live. And that was the
Arglo or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes me happy, and I wrap it up.
Iron Dogger. I just tried to reach out on Facebook if you're there. If I got the right one.
Just for later, yes.
Yeah, we can solidify that.
Hey, she has some really cool experiences.
Yeah, totally.
All right. I'm game.
Okay.
All right. So let's wrap it up. Let's just go around real quick. Final thoughts.
Oh, brother. This is where it draws out for another 8 hours.
I know,
Come
but
on. How many more final thoughts do they want? I mean, God.
All right. Everybody has 15 seconds. Ready to go, Patrick.
All right.
What's the subject?
I relinquish my time, Steve.
What's the question? What are we asking?
I'm just trying to figure out the phenomena that are going on out there. If one of them happens to be a large hairy hominid, maybe I'll find it. If not, it's still interesting.
Yeah, let's go camping and enjoy nature.
I'm still stuck on what are we asking? What's the question?
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Raniel, awesome comments today. Iron Dogger, good to see you again. Raptor, great to hear your comments. Nikki, you're probably offline. Great to see you again. Be great to be on the panel with you another time. And Felden, loved what you had to say as well. Let's see who else is in there. I think that's it for it. Oh, and Mrs. CC, appreciate all your comments as well and your insights. There, that's what I got to say.
Yes.
There.
Pat, thank you for providing the platform you do, as objective and as honest as I think we can be.
Well, thank you, Patrick. I appreciate that. And so yeah, my final thought for the night is great show. Great to have you guys on. Great chat tonight. That really was cool. Chat was great tonight. And yeah, we got some cool things coming here on Squatch Talk this weekend. I'm going to try and put this content video out. Come on, you can't freeze frame it. Try it. You can't do it.
Now, do it now.
Great. And I'll have that other video in the next few days too in regards to Sasquatch stuff. And none of them, you'll be pissed off because I'll totally let you down because they're not Sasquatch. And Steve and I will be with Steve Cult on next Sunday.
Oh, awesome. I look forward to that, and I'm glad.
Steve will be first. I'll be late because I'll be working. I'm working like 5 days stretch in a row, all crazy hours. So I don't know what I'll have in my brain by that time. But Steve will cover for me, won't you, buddy?
We'll see if we can twist some brains.
That'll be great. And yeah, everybody to do that. You say next Sunday, like a week or so from now, right?
That's right. 23rd, I think, Steve. Is that right?
All right.
Yeah, that's what I think he said.
Yeah, and he only set us up with a huge performance of these guys are going to blow your mind. Steve, we're going to blow their mind, buddy. Yeah, my mind will be blown by the time we get onto the show, so that'll be interesting to see what I got.
Oh, yeah. It'll be great. It's Memorial Day weekend here in the U.S., and everybody will be out on the lakes, so good luck with that.
Nice. Good. So we can just relax. It's maybe a long weekend here, too, so everyone's working, including me, or not working except for me, so.
Yeah.
Hey, Green Man. See ya, buddy.
I'm just half joking, but yeah, thanks for everybody for tuning in. Interesting discussion tonight. Interesting show. Interesting dynamic, if you will. And we will be back. You know what? I'm going to come back next Tuesday. Maybe do a free for all. I think it's safe for me to do a free for all now. Given the lag time and the controversy, I don't think I'll get flooded by too much criticism. But I think I may open it. I'm sorry, my bad.
There's controversy.
Let's talk offline. Let's talk offline about this.
No. Open mic. I misspoke. Tonight was a free for all. Obviously, I may do a open mic on Tuesday night, and
come sing or something. I'm gonna sing and do karaoke. Get some big
I might sing some Def Leppard or something. Maybe a little White Snake in a tribute of Chronic Cocaine.
We're gonna have to practice behind the scenes now. We're gonna have to come up with a scene.
How much for your wings?
I'll sing.
Leon said he's going to back you up on you. Back me up on that.
I'll sing some Nana Muscuri if you know who that is.
A weem away.
That's not that.
A weem away. In the jungle.
You guys didn't chat.
Oh, we're insane.
I know.
Yes.
And we're going to have a hard cut meeting. So, yeah, man. Thanks for being on, guys.